Welcome guys. We're going to be playing some more Distant Worlds 2. My name is DasTactic. Welcome to the channel. This is not my normal streaming time. I actually I had another arrangement or another appointment basically at my normal streaming time. It was actually it was recording a podcast for Exterminate, but with Eric Rutens, the developer, one of the developers of Distant Worlds, which is great. So Distant Worlds 2. So we're going to be playing this game. This is actually a sponsored stream, so I'd like to thank Slytherin for actually for sponsoring the stream. There is actually a link if you're at YouTube. You'll sort of find that there's a link pinned at the top there, which will get you across to Steam. And I've put it in the description there, in the description there for Twitch if we're watching on Twitch. So anyway, that's they're the two different links there for the actual game itself. Just a tracking link. But anyway, I'll start off there actually. Let's just go and start with the ways of actually getting the game. So there is actually a 50% off at the moment. So we've got 50% off. I'm not sure. Yeah, there we go. Ends April the 8th. Now that's April the 8th for me. That means it's going to be April the 9th for everyone else. Except at this time, there's probably going to be a few Australians watching. Welcome if you're from Australia, because I very rarely get any other Australians watching at my normal time. I normally sort of like 6 hours before now type thing. So Gary is in saying, hi, first time here, welcome. How's the new DLC? It is amazing. We're going to go through that actually. I'll do a bit of an intro into the actual DLC. I'm going to be here for 3 or 4 hours. So if you've got any questions or want to see anything about the game or about the DLC, that's the purpose really of this particular stream. I've got an existing game which is in a fairly interesting position that I thought I'd start off with today. By the way, I will also be streaming tomorrow on the Slytherin channel at when is it actually? Probably in about 21 hours I think from now, where I'll be streaming. I think it's about then, somewhere around that time. I haven't put it into the schedule yet for Slytherin, but it's but that's also going to be on the Slytherin channel, where we should just be able to, like, hopefully our empire won't collapse in this particular playthrough, and we'll be able to get something sort of fairly interesting to then sort of continue on with tomorrow. So that's the plan, is to sort of take it across to their Twitch channel. Klingzog on Twitch is then sort of saying, what WTF, Daz is live now, just got back from a night out, there we are. And Falcons is saying, I knew he'd sneak in. Well, it's sort of funny because I was on I'm not sure if I was supposed to talk about this or not, but I was invited into a podcast with Eric from the Matrix Games, essentially. He's one of the major developers for the game, and we were talking about the launch because the DLC just launched today. Anyway, the base game, you can get the base game here for 50% off if you are so inclined. There is a link, as I said before, that I've actually pinned in YouTube and also put in the description on Twitch. So 50% off for about a week at this point in time. The different DLCs as well are all sort of also on special. So you've actually got other ones into here. I'll just browse all 4 of them. Hang on, it's not as easy to see that actually as the previous screen. Just get back there. So the DLCs that we end up having here, so I'll just get rid of that pop-up. So the new one that's just launched today, it's only $14 actually. That's $14 Australian. That's going to make it around about $10 US. That's actually fairly cheap. That's actually I didn't realise it was that cheap. I thought it'd be sort of probably more like twice that, to be honest. And I'm being brutally honest about that. Actually, the others were also $14.50 as well for the other factions. I didn't even realise that either. So you've got the Ikaru and Dayuts, which are 40% off at the moment, 30% off for the Quamino and Gizarians, and 10% off for the Return of the Shakturi. Now, at the risk of sort of not getting my people to click on the actual link that I have there is a cheaper way to get the game, and it was something that a few of you have now mentioned to me, and actually Eric also mentioned it today when we were recording. So and I'll just go across and just do a Humble Bundle. You can actually get it from there. So they've actually just signed up for Humble Bundle, which is completely 100% legit. There's a few other places that people talk about where you can get keys through different areas. I wouldn't recommend that. I've been burnt that way in the past personally, but Humble Bundle is legit. And if you have a look at you do need to become a member, so you need to sort of buy, it's basically $12 a month to then become a member, and then you get a whole range of different games at the moment. Now this current month, the April month, if you do become a member, you're going to get different games in through here. So you won't see it here initially, but as you start to scroll through, you'll sort of see that these are all the different games that are currently available for your $12. One of them being Distant Worlds 2. So you can, I think you get a Steam key with this one. I'm assuming. Yeah, there we go. Steam. You get a Steam key, which means you can get the base game for fairly cheaply, and then of course you can just go to Steam and get those discounts on the other Wekkarus and things. But if you do use the tracking link, then of course that helps me in terms of I don't get any kickback as such, but it just allows them to sort of see how effective or ineffective this particular stream is in terms of bringing people across to have a bit of a look. So anyway, this is Falcons are saying, where's the podcast? Is it not out yet? I think it'll be probably a week away, I would guess. I'm not actually. I was brought in as a bit of a guest as well, like what do they call it? A content expert guest, I guess, because I've played so much of this game. I absolutely love it. One of my favourite games of all time. So so actually, a Canty on YouTube is saying there's a humble bundle for €12. You get 5 other games. This is nearly a scam. I'm not sure what you mean by that. But anyway, we've covered the Humble Bundle. I do want to cover that because that is the cheapest way at the moment that I know of to get the base game. And then, of course, you can go back across and get the other ones there as well. Danny Smith saying, can't watch for long because of work, but glad you're making these. I need to relearn how to play because I haven't played since Distant Worlds 1. This is a very common sentiment that actually people do talk about. A lot of people actually even got the game when it first came out and then played it once or twice and then sort of just left it alone. The game has improved and developed incredibly. And in fact, if we go back to Steam, I'll just quickly show you even just the proof of this, which it's sort of funny because I never really felt that this was actually all that good in terms of a guide for the actual game, but it's now mostly positive, which means it's over 70% in the long term of the game, and then it's very positive in recent times, running at 80%. So the game is getting more and more and more support from the playing community, and this all reviews has gone from mixed sort of up slowly over time. Just to put it out there, I'm a fanboy of the game. I love it. I've loved it ever since it launched. So I could never understand why the reviews were so low. I think I know a little bit about, like, certain people had problems with some of the stuff not working. They've been working very, very hard on getting that one fixed. But the other interesting thing about that is I think that people actually approach the game from the perspective of other turn-based type games, and this is a real-time game. It's pausable real-time, so it's not stressful to play, but this is a simulation game at its heart. I always sort of say it to look at it this way. It's also very much a space opera. Like it's beautifully unbalanced as well, so don't expect to play a perfectly balanced game at all, and I love that about this game, because you don't know what you're going to get, and I can show you some examples of that as well as we sort of get into it. So Klingzog is saying that's pretty cheap compared to the Age of Wonders 4 DLC right now. Yeah, it is actually. It really is, and it's sort of funny because we were looking at it the other day with the DLC that came out for Age of Wonders 4, and that was really expensive in comparison to the DLCs here. And I've got to say that the different factions really add a lot to the game. We're going to be mainly focusing on the Atuuk and Wekkarus. That's really what the sponsorship is going to be about today. But I'm going to be streaming, as I said, for a few hours, maybe 3 or 4 hours, I'm hoping. Hi, Fixit, how are you going? And so anyway, that's sort of where we are. I'll go in. I won't spend too much time in the nitty-gritty of getting into the game. I will sort of go through how I've set the game up and what we're doing with the game, but I was playing it yesterday, and I spent a lot of time. If you go back and look at the previous live stream, you'll sort of see what I've done with the ships, what I've done with the fleets, and to sort of get to where we are right now when we do actually sort of kick the game off. In fact, I think we'll do that now. What I might do is I might just sort of show you maybe a bit of this. I shall start with our current game introduce you to that. Then I'll go back and show you the game that I rejected and why, and also maybe show you some of the Atuuk type stuff as well. So let's just go and do a bit of an intro. So we'll spend probably half an hour just sort of doing a bit of a summary, and then we'll get into the actual gameplay. So it's one of these games that you can't really sort of play quickly. I mean, you get more out of it by playing slowly, I think. Mike G saying, "Hi Daz, what the heck time is it there?" Well, it's only 8:30 a.m. This is a very civilized time for me to start streaming. I'm not working today, so I was supposed to go out for some meetings, but it's sort of too wet. So and I was supposed to go out on site to actually check out some things, but it's actually too wet for me to do it. So so now's my normal daytime. Falcon's saying 3+ hour stream. Yes, bring the popcorn, honey. I'm going to be here a while. There we go. And Childrick Kelder is saying hi. I think people come into this game thinking it's another Stellaris. Mostly, I like both games, but they really are totally different. Absolutely, that's 100%. It's really what happens is people come in expecting it not to. Where you need to expand as fast as you can, explore as fast as you can, things like that. And that's not the case with this game. Anyway, let's get into it. I'll just continue with what we're playing. We're playing as the Wekkarus Noble Houses in this particular game that I'm playing. This is some of the new Boscara art that we're sort of seeing in this cutscene here. They've really done a lot of work just in in doing the artwork and getting ships redone. They've just finished off resetting up the Boscara and what was the other faction that they the Xenox, just in free updates as well. They're currently working on the Teekans and the Harkonish, and to finish those off as well. And these are all part of the base game. So they're sort of improving things over time. I think they will then complete all the base game factions, and they become so unique when you play them, like when they've actually sort of done this reimagining of the actual of the different factions. Each faction is very, very interesting now to actually play. And as I said before, I am really passionate about this game. I've loved it since Distant Worlds 1. It's been one of my favourite games of all time since Distant Worlds 1. And for me, this game is so much better than Distant Worlds 1 ever was. And so it's sort of, and as I said before, they just keep on improving it. Now, having said that, I always like to try to think, okay, what's the negatives about the game? The big negative at the moment is that it appears to be overwhelming, and I think a large part of that is the user experience and the user interface don't really, in certain aspects, don't really help new players into the game. So I'll try to talk a little bit about how you can sort of get around that. They are doing more and more work on the user experience, which is great, because I think this game really does need that. Just because of the scope of the game. The scope is incredible with the way it sort of does kick in. So just be aware of that. Here we go. It always takes a bit of time to load these things in. So we are playing in through here. I'll just talk about the premise of what I've done with this actual game, and I'll show you sort of like maybe even the start, how I've set this game actually up. So it's very early in the piece. Now we start off in the year 2754, and so we've been playing for about 13 years. 3 years before now, a war started, and what I did was because it's a simulation game, you can almost play it like you're watching an aquarium, where you basically sit back and just let the game play. And so I had set that one up where I had changed all of the actual automation, just kicked it all on, and so that I wasn't doing anything at all. And then what I decided was, and you'll see why I've decided to do this, but when I set myself up so that I'd end up with some difficult factions around me, and that's exactly what we've got. And then I decided that I would actually take over as soon as a war started. So it was about 10 years into the game that the war started, and so we're now at war. So we're actually in the middle here. We're playing as the Wekkarus, which are an aquatic faction, and sort of think a bit of a Cthulhu sort of style, aquatic. Sort of sea monster type thing in that sort of sense would be the sort of faction. We're not all that strong, to be honest, but we have some very unique abilities which I'll go through with that as well. So exactly saying I would like the fuel ships worked better than they do. Just got my little beef. They have improved that an awful lot. yeah, it'd be interesting to see, if you've got any sort of comments about in recent, within recent weeks or recent months, because they did a big lot of work on getting the the refuelers to work better. In fact, I'll show you even when we get into game. In fact, I can even show you now. If I go and grab one of the fleets that we've got an invasion. We're just about to do an invasion here, by the way, but I'll talk about that. If I do a long right click, you can see there I can now just tell them to refuel from fuel tankers. I can actually tell them to wait now for fuel tankers, which wasn't there even just a few weeks ago. So that's actually something you can do now. If there's fuel tankers, this is disabled because we've got no fuel tankers in the fleet. But you can do that now with larger. I think this fleet here does. Yes, this one's going into refuel. This one does have some fuel tankers in its fleet, so we can just tell it to, hey, stop what you're doing, refuel up, and then move in. So we can actually sort of we can get in the middle of it, but they are more smart now than what they were. Exactly saying mine into combat and get themselves blown up. Are you talking within recent weeks? Because that shouldn't be the case. They still will move into the combat location, but usually they sort of go off and try to sort of move away. So yes, okay, well that's interesting. It's because I know that they've actually been working on that. Yeah, so Falcon saying mine don't join a fleet, they drop out of warp at the sun. Oh, okay, yeah, mine tend to always be somewhere different. They can be hunted down, like that's certainly something that can actually happen there. So Gary is sort of saying, with regards to UI and UE, or UX, I think you mean, is user experience. There we've got there is a thread act over on the Steam forums. A lot of people want to be able to create new player-defined roles. Yes, there's that's more game mechanics, but I'm talking about just within the existing game mechanics, just making them easier to access and more intuitive. I think there's a lot of things in the game that actually aren't intuitive. Gary's saying that way they could easily manage multiple designs that use the same hulls. What do you think of that idea? They already have that now. They actually, I can show you that. We can go through all these sorts of questions. I'll do that when, I'll try to remember to come back. If I do forget, please just sing out, and if I don't answer a question and you want it answered, just do an @DasTactic, whether you're watching on Twitch or on YouTube, and I'll then come back and it will then sort of highlight for me. And if I still don't see it, it just means I haven't seen it. So do it again. I don't mind being spammed if I'm not being responsive. I tend to get tunnel vision, like when I'm sort of playing these sorts of games, and then stop looking at the chat there for a little while. Okay, so yeah, Falcon's saying that, and so they don't go into battle with so they drop out and don't go into battle. That's what mine do, but sometimes they will be hunted down, which is just the nature of the beast. The fleets are much more intelligent now than what they ever were, which is good. Anyway, so what we have here is we're playing as the Wekkarus, and we'll do a bit of an intro when we come back into the game. Just in very, very brief summary. We've got a number of different fleets. If I click on the military tab and then quickly and open up the fleet in through there, we've got 4 different fleets. Now, these were built for me when the game was running in automatic. I've just tweaked them to make them more purpose-built for what I want, which I'll explain when we actually do get started. We've got an invasion fleet going in to invade at this point in time. We've got a general in there as well, and so they're about to be moving across to take over this particular world. I'll talk about that in just a minute. We've got a defence fleet, 2 defence fleets back into here, the 1st and the 4th. And so these have got 4 escorts and 4 frigates in each of them. And so these are good enough to take out any raiders, and they're good enough to delay an invasion. But they're not good enough to take on an attack fleet. The attack fleets will be too strong. So we'll talk about those as well when we get going. They're currently set to auto. And so both these fleets are in different areas of the Empire. One at our home world systems, and then one over through here. We've got a very, very important research base. So we've sort of got a research base that we're trying to protect with some scientists there. Then we actually have our main fleet, which is the 3rd fleet, which has got 7 escorts and 7 frigates, and you can see there that 10 of them are low on fuel. And so we're moving that one out now to sort of start our attacks against the Dayuts. We're actually at war with the Dayuts in through here. We declared war on them because we had the opportunity to. Now again, I didn't declare the war. The AI decided, now's the time. And the reason they decided to do that, if I'll just quickly sort of show you how this one works. So we've got the Dayot surveillance oligarchy, and we're at war. Around us, we also then have the Boscaras, which are back over through here. And so this is the other, like these are all three bug factions, like the three insectoids, which essentially are going to hate us. So we've got the, so they're actually out this way. We've got some pirates back out this way that we're now aware of, which we're going to have to destroy. Another group of pirates out here, which we'll have to destroy as well. We have some pirates here that we're actually paying off. In fact, I think we may be paying those off. No, we are paying these off. So we're paying that one off. In fact, they've become super friendly, these pirates. These ones are still on the way to becoming friendly, but these are the same faction as us. Anyway, so we also then have the last one is the Gizarians, and they're probably going to be our biggest threat, I would think, ultimately, more so than the Boscara and the Dayots. The reason we went to war, excuse me, if I go and choose the Dayots in through here, is that they were at war with the Datanui. In fact, they still are with the Anthropod Syndicate, the Gizarians, and so they're at war with them. Their war weariness had kicked in pretty badly. They're at -8. We're at -1. And so it was a good opportune time to go to war with them. And I didn't realise, I mean, I thought that we went to war, that the AI decided to go to war with them because the Dayots had taken this world in through here, an independent world, and it was very, very close to our home systems. And so that would ultimately cause a problem. But I don't think it was. What I think it was is you can sort of see that there's some dotted lines around the TARF system and some dotted lines around the Yaris system. Both of these systems have got outposts on them. So the Dayots have actually set up outposts. And what's actually interesting about these particular outposts, if I just go and click in, an outpost never has more than about 30 million people sort of on the actual planet itself. These are literally just outposts. And so this particular volcanic moon is an outpost that's been set up by the Dayots. And so they're actually here, and this is what we're going to be invading. We're going to be taking over just a simple little thing through here. There shouldn't be any troops on the ground. It should be a really easy takeover. But the thing that this thing actually has is it actually has got a very special resource called Zentabia fluid, and it's got good abundance of it. But it actually really, really improves your development on your colonies, and so it's a must-have. And so when you find a special resource like this is worth going to war over so that you can control it. It's a bit like in June controlling the spice. In this case, this is like spice, and so we need to control this volcanic world. Even though we hate volcanic worlds, we need to control that fluid, and so we need to take over that one and this one as well. This outpost here at Yaris, back in through here, this moon is also a Zentabia fluid moon. And so my war goals, when I found out that that's what was there, have now changed, and that's what the war goals are now going to be for us, to sort of try to secure these two outposts, and so that we can actually then control all the Zentabia fluid, and that will probably be all of the Zentabia fluid in the whole game. Will probably be from those two locations. That's what I'm sort of hoping will be. So so that's sort of where we are with the essentially with this war. But we are surrounded by very, very dangerous foes. And I'll come back and I won't talk any more about what we're doing here, but we've established ourselves. They've been at war with the Gizarians. I haven't come across any large fleets of the Dayots. We don't have any long-range scanners, which I normally don't personally like to go to war until I've got long-range scanning. But in this case, we don't have eyes in what's going on. I just have to make sure I leave good enough weaponry behind to be able to handle any sort of threat that does come. So I'm hoping that these 4 fleets will be able to perform what we need them to do. We'll come back to this one. Let me show you the one I was going to play, and I'll maybe even go through when we come back to this one and just show you how I've sort of set the game up. But if I go back out to the main menu, and so I've decided to keep it. Actually, I think I've kept it. Maybe I didn't. So I'm just going to load the game. I'm hoping I did. Maybe I didn't. No, I don't think I did. Oh, hang on. Maybe I did. Maybe I did. I could have. No, it's too old. Sorry. I actually, it's already been, all my autosaves have gone over the top of it. I had one where I was getting completely annihilated, essentially, when I'd randomised it. So again, you can have extremely different types of gameplay each time. One thing I will show, though, is the Atuuks. I've got one here from about a week ago, which I can then sort of show what this one's like. So this is actually a the Quito administrative clans. I'll very quickly talk about what these have got. So I'll just load this one in, just to sort of show you. I won't spend too much time with the Atuuks. So this is actually an Atuuk run that we're doing. So I've got like different fleets going off to do different things in around here. The Atuuks are a faction in the game that I wasn't really all that keen about, to be honest. They were my least favourite faction in Distant Worlds 1. So when they were coming into Distant Worlds 2, I was a little bit not really all that interested. But a fair few people that were on the beta testing because I was on the beta testing as well for it, and I just didn't bother playing it. But actually, Eric had said, look, you should give them a go. They're actually really, really quite engaging. And then a lot of other people said, give them a try out. And then one person, I wish I remembered who it was, but someone in the chat actually had mentioned a little while back that when you play as the Atuuks, imagine that you're playing as the Warhammer 40,000 orcs. And that would be sort of like the chaotic approach would sort of be the way that they go. They're not as aggressive as the orcs, but just that whole chaotic sort of play style sort of works with these guys. And so the thing I love about these is their actual ship designs. They're just incredible. They look great. So this is actually like a spaceport. The actual ships themselves, and I've sort of shown this a few times now, it's very Futurama-y or 1950s sort of like... Buck Rogers in the 25th century type sort of ships. They just look fantastic. It really is it's my favourite ship designs for this particular group. They're extremely unreliable, the actual ships, so that's part of their gameplay. They breed like crazy, they breed like rabbits, and but they're all very, very different. The ships just look fantastic. They look beautiful, and even the freighters. Actually, there's a freighter there. The freighters look so different to the actual combat ships. It's just awesome. They've done such a good job of this faction in terms of the overall look, but they've also done a great job in terms of getting them to play in an engaging way, even though they're quite a peaceful, expansive sort of faction. So they're not really a big aggressive faction. Their ships are not going to perform that well in combat just because of the way that they're sort of been structured. But they are fun to play, and they have sort of like a very special way of their victory conditions with the Atuuks. You'll sort of see through there the victory objectives in that last column there. I've got things called the Great Direction, and so every 5 years you choose the direction for the faction, and they then get bonuses within that area, so you can sort of keep on chopping and changing the way that the game is then played, or the way that this particular faction is played. So and they get, as I said before, they get little bonuses in the direction that you're going in, and so you then sort of choose whichever way you want to go. Like if you decide to go Great Direction Stronger, you're then going to be sort of strengthening up your actual faction. If you go in the one that I did do, which I thought I could get, which I did manage to do it, was the Great Direction Richer, where I could sort of then go and get more riches. So there's different directions that you can then sort of head in. Like at the moment, in this particular game, I'm 10 years in at this point in time, and we've got a great direction in terms of multiplying, of trying to sort of get our population growth up. So we have a bonus there for population growth. So this is sort of the way things are then sort of working. But that's the Atuuks. I won't spend too much time with them. So they were, as I said before, that this was not a faction that I was really looking forward to playing, but I actually ended up really, really enjoying it. Anyway, let's go back, and unfortunately, I wish I had a saved where the other one that I rejected. It was just so difficult. I'll just go back out to the main menu. I'll show you the settings for what I've played with the current game. So if I just go to start a new game. So we're playing with 700 stars, and the nebula density is sort of like they're choke points in space, and so these are not part of Distant Worlds 1, but they're a big feature of Distant Worlds 2, and so it slows your movement down dramatically as you sort of go through those areas. So I'll just have a quick look through the chat and just see if there's anything anywhere where people are actually asking more questions. Where did we get to? So Gary's saying you can do it now, but it's a bit cumbersome. You need to manually link the designs. That was with the yes, it is. It's a bit cumbersome. It's not bad though. It's not impossible. So Pharaoh is saying first time paying attention to this game. How is it compared to Stellaris? That's a great question, and this is so different. They really are chalk and cheese, and not one's better than the other. It's just the actual approach is completely different, and so when you think in terms of Stellaris, or you think in terms of Galactic Civilizations, or even Mu 2 sort of style games, you really are thinking almost in terms where you're playing a board game, Space 4X. Where the balance is important, like with those sorts of games, because they're often built for multiplayer. So they try to make sure that things are fairly well balanced, and that you follow a very definite progression through the game of like with the 4Xs, explore, expand, and so they become very important things for you to do in the game. Now, this game is completely different in that sort of sense. This game starts off as a simulation game, and you can decide how much or how little you take over, and we'll talk about that when we get into it. But it's so different in what you do. It's pausable real time. You don't have to stress out because you can automate most things. It's like Union ID and Twitch are saying, Distant Worlds 2 is more of a sandbox 4X. It really is. And I've always said, even with Distant Worlds 1, I've always referred to it as being beautifully unbalanced, where you don't really know what you're going to get, and even during the game, different things will happen that become a bit unexpected. And so they're not trying to keep the game into any sort of real balance. There is a sort of a natural balance to things within the game, but overall, it's sort of designed to be unbalanced, so that you might have a really easy run one time. In fact, I have started a few other games of this where when I started to run the history forward like automatically. This is what we've sort of played. We've let the history run forward just where the AI was playing it until we took over. But when I was doing it, it was too easy because we didn't actually have any major threats nearby. What I like about the one we're currently going to be playing is that we've got major threats nearby, but we're still strong enough to hold our own. So we're going to have some unusual things actually happening there. So so Shildrick is saying, unexpected things may happen, which is nice. Every run is different. It really is. And so for me, the replay value of this game is very, very high. I won't say extreme. I would say that Distant Worlds 1 was extremely different when you played it. Distant Worlds 2 is a bit more constrained in that sort of freedom that you've got, which in one sense I do miss the just the crazy things that would happen in Distant Worlds 1. I'm sort of thinking like the next big update for Distant Worlds 2 is going to be the pirate update, and I think that will then really expand the openness of the game even more. So but there's a lot of things that can actually happen in this game. So it's actually saying it's like Risk in space, as in the I'm thinking you mean sort of more like Stellaris. So Shildrick is saying Distant Worlds Universe was so great. I still have it installed. Played a few mods on it as well. Yeah, it was a great game. I can't play it now that Distant Worlds 2 is out. It's just so much better here. So anyway, that's. But I'll try to show you the differences when you get into the game, because unfortunately, one of the big problems from people who come from Stellaris to play this game, they just assume that they have to expand as fast as they can, and that's one of the fastest ways to frustration in this particular game. You've really got to think in terms of securing what you need to secure, but being able to defend it as well. And so expansion actually costs you in this game. So you still need to do it, but you need to be doing it within your means. And so I'll try to talk about that when we actually get into it. So Union ID saying, what constraints did they put on Distant Worlds 2 that made it less random than Distant Worlds 1? The big constraint, I think, is in ship design. Like they've actually sort of made it so you can't go as wildly different with the actual ship designs. One thing I do notice with this one is that in Distant Worlds 2 is it is easier to attack over distance because of the ships, whereas in Distant Worlds 1 you had to really establish all sorts of forward bases and stuff like that. You still have to do it in this game, and so that's still very, very important, but not to the same extent. It just as one example. So Gary's in saying, I like it much more than Stellaris. I'm the same. Yeah, Paradox likes to restrict your actions too much for my taste. Well, that's to try to keep the... I think that they do that to try to keep the balance. Like, so balance, because it's a multiplayer game, this is Stellaris, you know, that's much more of a... a feature of what sort of does go on through there. So in Gary's in saying, in this game you can have border skirmishes without going to war. Yeah, you can pretty much sort of push the. I'll show you that the simulation aspect of this game is just phenomenal. And again, it's so much richer and deeper than what Distant Worlds Universe was, or Distant Worlds 1. So Gary's in sort of saying, in my last full game I was skirmishing with another empire for quite a while. Finally went it all out. It does impact other things, and so I'll talk about that as well when we get into it. Ferro is saying, so Distant Worlds have much more complexity and depth in it than Stellaris. Yes and no. This is again where this is one of, I don't want to scare people off from the game, because it's actually one of these games that it's so easy to play Distant Worlds if you set it up correctly, or not correctly, but if you set it up to match for how you want to play it. You can play it however you want to be it. You can decide if you just want to be the captain of a ship and that's all you want to do, you can play it that way and let everything else just look after itself. If you decide you just want to look after one fleet and have everything else just automatic, you can do that as well. There's so much scope in this game. Even if you just wanted to manage the planets and let the AI look after all your ships for you, no, it's not a problem. You can really set up whatever style of play you want in this game. You've really got to think of it in terms of it's a simulation, and you decide which parts of the simulation you're going to impact. And that's really, I think, the approach that you sort of then do have to need to come in with the actual game itself. Hi Star Mage, how you going? So just really a few of the others. So yes, so it's not as so it's more complex just simply because of the nature of the game, but you decide what complexity you're going to take on board. And for me, I automate a lot of the game, and I like to look after the fleets, so I tend to look after the military aspects, but let the game sort of just handle everything else. So just having a bit of a look through. So hi Louise, how you going? So Gary's saying, so far my favourite faction is the Daewits, giant spiders that like to spy. Well, that's who we're at war with. You don't have to spend resources to make your spies do their job like you do in Stellaris. Yeah, so I tend to leave the spies on automatic until I really need them to do something. We'll have a look at those as well. Lewis saying, hi, I have a question. This DLC is introducing new mechanics or just new species? Well, it's sort of a bit of both. Every DLC doesn't introduce new mechanics to the base game, but it does for that faction, and it also does if you play against that faction. So it's not really the like the Return of the Shakturi introduced new mechanics where we've got sort of like now federations and things like that we can now form, but and also like with the whole late game threats and so on and so forth. Whereas this really just does introduce two very, very well fleshed out factions. Is sort of what we end up having predominantly. Peter Smith saying, I've been playing the new DLC today, not the races yet, but so far I'm 5 hours in and haven't rage quit. No, it's the overall enjoyment factor and immersion of the game is improving all the time. And I've got to say the Xenox with the recent update, which was part of the base game, with the recent free updates for those, have gone from one of my least favourite factions to one of my all-time favourite factions, just in what they do. We'll talk about that when we get into the Wekkarus, to sort of show the unique things about how the Wekkarus then play. And so Pete then sort of says they must facelift the entire game on their next update. I hope they do. This is again probably the one area that I think that the game really does need to improve. And Ferro is saying, Daz, thank you, kind of bored of Stellaris, so I'm looking for something to dive into. I'll try Distant Worlds 2 then. Yeah, look, hopefully you like it. I mean, as I said before, you do have to go into it with a completely different mindset with what's going on through there. Star Mage is then sort of saying Stellaris is kind of like Crusader Kings 3 with lots of events getting thrown at you, and you kind of role play and adjust your faction. Yeah, it's sort of, whereas this one, you still get random things that happen, but it sort of then presents either opportunities or threats you then have to sort of go and deal with. Pete's sort of saying, factions are okay, it's sort of everything else. Yeah, needs a total revision. It's in an alpha state. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I think that there's certain things that need to be tweaked and made a bit more out in front for everything there. Okay, anyway, let's keep on going through. So when you set up a game of Distant Worlds, you pretty much have like different galaxy shapes, and one way to sort of test these is to go and click on like the 2000 stars, pick up like an 8x8 sector type thing, and if I change it like these, I'm currently got it set up to dual ring with no center, so that's, you can see there the two different rings. If I go to the nebula density of very sparse, it should then sort of push things out a little bit. It'll be easier to travel around in the galaxy than it is if you go to, for example, very dense, where you're going to end up with sort of like big pockets. You don't really see them in here, but there's pockets of nebulas that will then sort of block your movement. So you can sort of see the different styles. Like the classic galaxy is going to be a bit of a spiral galaxy with a ring. You've got then actual spirals. It's a bit hard to sort of see that there, but there is actually a spiral that is sort of going into the center. These are just elliptical random, where you've got like a much more compressed center with a more sparse area. These are showing the nebulas. If I go back to very sparse, it's all just a bit more sort of like a random sort of galaxy, and so on and so forth. So the one that I chose to play, I was originally starting off in here, but I've decided to go to 2 rings and just sort of go that way. So that's actually what we've got set up with 700 stars and normal nebula density on a 6x6. So that's sort of like they're the sectors. Each sector, like in the game, we have a measurement called M. I don't know what it stands for, and so 6x6 sectors is 600 M by 600 M essentially. Is sort of the way that one works. Okay, Z Games are saying, have they added any complexity to ground invasions? Not a lot that you can do with ground invasions. They sort of have, but it's and we'll see that when we go in. Like it won't be much of an invasion that we're doing. It certainly works. You're not actually sort of moving units around on the map, and I know that I think everyone would love to see like a little hex map that you sort of are actually having to move units through, but it's nothing like that. So it is automatic with the ground invasions. Anyway, that's the galaxy shape and size. The next settings that we actually had was, this is the galaxy settings. Now this is mainly to do with the other factions. So the other factions, I've got them expanding, which means that they start off reasonably large. So 7 to 8 colonies. They can be less than that, but that's typically sort of where they are. And so they tend to sort of float in around that area. They won't all be exactly 7 to 8. They might be anywhere from 2 to 4. You know, they won't be up to 15, 12 or 15, but they'll sort of be in around this sort of area. This is the tech level. I've started everyone on tech level 1, which at least gets us started. And so again, it just gives us a faster start. The game is designed to be played at pre-warp, with everything on pre-warp, and sort of designed to, in that way, sort of ease into the game. But I like to at least get everything sort of kicking along pretty quickly. So tech level 1 is the if I go to mature and old, I can still go back to tech level 1 as my starting points. So these are sort of like, mature is a big faction, and old is empires are well established with many colonies and high populations. Most of the galaxy has been explored. So an old factions would mean like massive factions you can sort of have in the game itself. But expanding gives you a pretty interesting run right from the very start. As I said before, though, the game itself is designed to be played at pre-warp. Galaxy aggression, I've got that one at unstable, which means that there's going to be, like, this one sort of impacts how aggressive the computer players are going to be, so they're not going to be very friendly. Difficulty I've kept on normal, because we've actually got our difficulty handled in other ways, and even just the neighbours that we have will impact the difficulty of the game. As I said before, beautifully random and beautifully unbalanced. It's sort of like it's really can be quite amazing. So, and what I've done is the hostile races near us, I've gone extreme, which is why we've got the Daoits, the Gizarians, and the Boscara essentially as our neighbours, which means we're not going to have any friends in the actual game itself. Research speed, I've got it slow. Research visibility, I've only got only the next projects visible, and I think I like this because it makes the research approachable. There's a lot of research you can do in the game, and so if you do it this way, you're not being overwhelmed by massive trees. They're still big. And then the research pathing. So random research paths. I've got certain paths have been turned off or have been switched around. It just randomizes a few different paths. That can really make the games wildly different as well, depending on what's actually been randomized. So I would suggest you don't play that for your first games. You might want to put them both on so you at least get a feel for the direction. But we've gone the opposite way here. Allow tech trading on. I normally don't do that in games, but I do like it in this game to have it on. It makes it so that your diplomacy has more bearing on what you actually end up doing. So yeah, Klings, I was saying, I love the pre-warp setting. That is the way that the game is designed to be played. Okay, so we've got next is the threats. So pirates, I've just got them set so that there's a normal amount of them, but their strength is going to be strong. Now what this means is that they're going to start off a tech level above where you are, and so anyway, that's what the pirates end up doing. And when they're set to strong or very strong, if you attack them, excuse me, they end up spawning cruisers, which are 2 levels above your biggest ship at the start of the game. So you have to then contend with that. Pirate proximity is just going to be average, and if they get killed, they're going to stay dead. Now, this is going to be the next major DLC for the game. Is going to be a rework of the pirates. I'm really looking forward to that. That was revolutionary in Distant Worlds universe, and so I think it'll be the same with this game as well. So that's what's coming up. Space creatures are just going to be on normal through here, which is sort of like this different large creatures that are in space that sort of either attack your outposts. So we've just got them set to normal. I used to get sick of them, so I used to have them on very few, but I'll leave them on normal for now. You actually get good boy points for actually wiping out pirates or wiping out the space creatures. Colonization. So I've just gone through with the colony prevalence. This is actually the influences in general quality of planets and moons. So I've just gone with normal prevalence. So there's not going to be too many around for us to settle into. But the independent colonies, I've gone with a fair few of these. So we ended up, now at the start of our game, we ended up with 3 different independent colonies that we could sort of see. 2 of them have been invaded and taken over, and one of them is still actually independent. So that's sort of what we see there. The influence range, this is like your borders. It sort of pushes out, depending on your the influence of your colonies, you'll then push the borders out. And so that's sort of how that one works. The borders don't mean a hell of a lot, other than if you're not at war with someone, you can't go and build inside their territory unless you have a special treaty with them to be able to go and do that. And you only really do that if you're very, very close with another faction. Colonization range limit. This actually then puts, and I said before, this is the M factor. 300 M is the default for the base default in the game. I'd like to halve that. It just means that if you have a planet that it's greater than 150 M away from one of your existing planets, you have to find another way to colonize it, because it'll be outside your colonization range. So they've got that one in through there as well. But 300 M is the default. Now our particular galaxy is only 600 M wide, so it's still, we still can go a fair distance to colonize. Our race, we're playing as the Wekkarus, so that's the actual faction that we're playing through here. I'll talk about them when we get into the actual game itself, and so we'll go and do that one. We've got a few different allowed government types. You can see we've got feudalism, monarchy, refugee fleet, or republic. Refugee fleet start is one where you start off essentially without a planet, and you just have like a fleet with some colony ships and a few other ships. So you start off way behind everyone else. That's more of a pre-warp type game, that you sort of start off with a refugee fleet and then sort of try to sort of build up into that one through there. So that's a difficult start. The other ones all are very, very different, and so I'll talk about monarchy when we get into the game itself. If I go to allow any, these are the sort of range of different government types in the game, and they all have very, very different perspectives and different bonuses that they provide. So I'll just go allowed by race. So the Wekkarus only have like a few different things in through there. Then we actually have our starting situation. Now you've got like a homeworld situation. I'll just go on random. The home system means that we don't have all of the construction resources are not in our home system, so I've gone with trying. That also makes the game a lot harder to actually play with the trying system. And you've also then got the critical resources This is not going to affect us because we're playing it at young and level 1. And so the expansion, we're not going to go expanding, we're going to go one down. So we're going to start off with, we only started off with 1 colony, I think it was, in this particular game. But essentially we have 2 to 4 colonies. The reason I like to go with young and then level 1, well, level 1 gives me the same level of tech as all the other factions, but young allows you to have explored around your home system. So you don't have to do that initial exploration, and I do like that. So for me, I like this particular start, but again, we could go, the expansion could just be sort of starting with pre-warp, so that one would actually be then something we could sort of do back and through that other side. The starting location, I just went with random in this instance, so it could be anywhere inside the galaxy that we've got set up. The other empires, I turned on 11 of them, and then I also added the Boscara at tech level 1. Now I set them to young. I should have put them to expanding, so I should have actually had expanding there, but I put them to young. So they're the same as us essentially. And I did mean to actually make that expanding, and I didn't do it. So that was on me. Their proximity was nearby. Government is random, but they're going to go hive mind because that's what they always do, which is really, really good. And the home system, they'll be normal. They won't be trying. So I can sort of set these things up. You can be extremely specific about the sort of start that you want. And I wanted to ensure, even though I went with going with the sort of extreme danger of the other factions near me, I wanted to also make sure that I definitely had an enemy that was going to be right next to me as well. And so that's what the Boscara is in our game. Then in victory conditions, I did have the Return of the Shakturi storyline off. If you do turn this one off, it means you can form federations earlier if you're wanting to. But the Return of the Shakturi is a sort of like a non-random end game crisis for the game. So it sort of kicks in where the whole galaxy ends up at war. So RDKI is saying, how does this game stack up against Stellaris? We're just talking about that actually. This is a simulation first, where Stellaris is like a board game first. If you sort of look at the roots of both games, this one plays very, very differently. This one is not balanced. It's not built for multiplayer. It's beautifully unbalanced. So it's sort of it's very much a very different focus with what we end up doing through here. Anyway, that's sort of what we have. I've turned off the race-specific story events as well. This is almost like a tutorial. If you do turn this one on, I get bored with it, to be honest, so I've turned that one off. It makes things a bit more random. And the colony events I have got turned off as well, because there's a lot of plagues that happen in the game, and I just don't really like them. So I've turned them off. Victory threshold is 60% for to sort of achieve a win in the game. So if we just, and then I sort of started the game from there. But I won't go and start that. What I'm going to do is continue my Wekkarus Noble Houses game. So that was the start of how we set the game up. So Clinton's saying, I prefer to say Stellaris is closer to a choose-your-own-adventure game now, with how many different directions you can go. Yeah, look, but the balance is still very, very important. Balance is not important with this game here. So, to quickly go through what's happened, so we're starting way on the outer rim of the galaxy. That's just randomly where we got placed. Boscara, up in the top through here. The Daots, which are sort of like an arachnid faction, down through here, which we're at war with. And then I think that the Gizareans, which are another insectoid. So these are 3 different insectoid factions. The Gizareans are down here. The Gizareans are at war with the Daots. They may be over here. I'm not sure where they actually are. But I haven't seen any big Daot fleets yet. So that's actually, in one sense, heartening, because I was expecting that we would see them by now, and that they'd be sort of attacking different areas. I've seen little fleets, but nothing big. So I'm thinking the Gizareans have absolutely smashed them. So I'm thinking the Daots are on their last legs at this stage of the game. Is sort of what I think has actually gone on. So this is our faction in through here. You can see that we don't have, it's not overwhelming with what we're looking after. I'll just go through each of the actual screens and do a bit of a summary so you can sort of see what's going on. The first major lot of screens is your Empire screen. And so what this one then goes and does is it sort of then shows you your economy. I won't talk much about this, but essentially the game is played where you control the state side of things, but there is a private side of things that is run as well. So you've got like the state economy and then the private economy. You don't control really the private economy. And so the mining bases, all these little circular things, these are all transport ships. You don't control those, you don't have to micromanage those. The game looks after that itself. And so there's a whole economy, a private economy, that runs under the game that you have no control over. But as from the state perspective, you then control taxation. So you tax the population, and you also then have different other sorts of expenses. So you don't pay expenses for the mining stations because that's private economy, but you do on your ships and bases, your troops, facilities that you build. If you're paying tribute, like to in this case, we're paying tribute to pirates, so we're actually paying them off as well. And so there's a whole lot of different things. Fuel costs, if you're actually trying to buy fuel from other locations that are outside of your control. If we go into one of our own fueling places, that's not really a problem. But if we go and get them, for example, from the pirates or something, then we're going to be paying through the nose for that. Shipbuilding, troop recruitment, facility building, etc., etc. You can see through there that the previous year we had invested in that one. This current year we're not actually we're not investing in that just yet, and so we then end up with a total cost of running our state economy. What we'll see through this is we end up with a cash amount of money. You'll notice that the cash on hand is the same as what we see up through here, and the cash flow. And usually, back in Distant Worlds 1, if you had a negative cash flow, you were in big problem. You had a big issue. And at negative 4,000, that's actually still fairly high in this game. So what we need to rely on with this one is if we had that cash flow and that was our money, you'd expect that after 5 years, we're going to be flat broke. And that could still be the case, except that there's other bonus income. And so when we have a bit of a look down through here, there should be, actually we're not seeing it there. Might be this is funding levels, maintenance. Yeah, no, there should be a bonus income somewhere else. Because really the only money we can really rely on getting is this colony taxation. That really is it. And so if our expenses are more than the colony taxation, then that's what the shortfall actually ultimately is. So the getting our colonies to be able to be happy enough to tax effectively is really a major key to the actual game itself. And every time we take over a new planet, that impacts the happiness and all sorts of stuff. So expansion is not important in this game until you really need to. So only expand when you've got a very, very clear opportunity that it's going to work for you long term. And I'll talk maybe a little bit about that, because I don't even think I can really expand in this game at this stage, other than through invasion. So just because we're sort of locked in this corner. And that doesn't matter in this game. It does in games like Stellaris. You have to expand. In this game, you don't. Falcon's saying private economy, private cash flow. Private economy, private cash flow. Where was that one? I haven't seen the cash flow there, sorry. It's not there. No, I'm not sure. No, sorry, I'm not sure where you're pointing to there. Bonus is right below annual. Hang on, where's that? Oh, here we go. Yeah, sorry, this is the bonus. So, yeah, it's right here. Okay, so the annual bonus income, and you can see in our current year, and we're already halfway through the year, we've received no money at all from anything. Whereas the previous year, we ended up with 10,000 extra money, which means that 4,000 shortfall was actually a $6,000 bonus. It just didn't show up in the books. And so in this case, the shipbuilding is building the freighters for the private enterprise. Fuel is selling the fuel to the private enterprise or to other ships that come and visit us. Tourism is if the citizens go off and visit sort of resorts that we can build. That's where we get tourism income. And then trade bonuses, where we end up getting a little bit of a tariff, I guess, on the income that's coming through with trading with other empires. Now, trade is not going to be a major factor for us because we've got problems with the other empires. But in this current year, we've got none of that. So the private sector has essentially sort of established what it needs at this point in time. So yeah, so we've got that one essentially there. So anyway, that's sort of where we are. You can see there that the private cash flow is actually positive, which is good. And these do need to also then work for what they do as well. Okay, so that's sort of that's that aspect. In terms of, I won't go through too many of these other bits and pieces, but like our government, we are playing as a monarchy, and so and they've made it so that these are much more unique. We can designate one military ship as your Empire flagship. Flagships have a 10% targeting, countermeasures, ship manoeuvring, etc., etc. So the flagship can become a much more powerful sort of option, and always justified. So all wars you declare are always considered justified by your population, thus slowing the growth rate of war weariness, which means that our war weariness up through here, we've got a little bit of it, but not much. And so playing as a monarchy, we end up with these bonuses. The typical leader term is 60 years. It's by direct appointment. When the leader does change, it's mildly disruptive. So it's not sort of too bad. And leader replaced from the appointment of a new character, essentially. And so we have a startup situation where we end up with like a planetary palace, which is going to be on our home world. And so we actually end up with like a king's or like an empire palace that we end up sort of having through there. Now we can go and switch to different government types, and we can sort of then do a bit of a comparison. We only have these to choose from: feudalism, monarchy, or republic. If we go to feudalism, we'll sort of see that there's different bonuses to all sorts of different things in the game by doing that one. The feudalism also has an upgraded militia. They have feudal obligations, so double trip recruitment rate for 2 years after a war starts, and a privateer navy. So nobles in your civilization will actually build their own ships for their own private use. So there's a whole lot of different things. This is highly disrupted when there's a coup d'etat every 20 years, which means that when you're playing a feudalist government type, expect that you are going to have civil wars when there's a coup. So there'll be a coup d'etat, very disruptive, and if you don't actually have your planets under control, they will rebel. Not so much for a monarchy, which is what we currently have. And then the other one that we have available to us is the republic, which of course is much more open. You can see there. With a monarchy, war weariness, we're pretty good with going to war. We're not so much if you're a republic. So you have other different bonuses that would then come through. You have treaty bonuses in through here. You end up sort of getting like more money coming through different diplomacy. So we've got different things in through here. You've got no other sort of special things that happen that way. You have an election which actually boosts the happiness on your world, so like the actual overall. Colony happiness and reduced war weariness. So this is actually a good thing. Every 8 years, it's got planetary administration center already built, and it also has planetary governance essentially established in through there. So at this stage, we're just playing with the monarchy. That's sort of really what we have. But each government type will dramatically change how the game plays. So even that alone is fairly interesting. The bonuses we end up having, you can see there, we've nearly got plus 20 research, and so we've got these come from different individuals or the actual faction itself. I'll talk about the actual faction. There's no way to sort of see it there. The leader, the policy settings. This is our automation settings, and so at the moment I've got them on custom, which are just when things start to annoy me, I either set it to fully automated or fully manual. And so I've got a few things like ship construction I've set to manual, base construction I don't want them to tell me what's going on. So basically if they find a base that they need to go and build, go and build it. I don't care. Like just automate all that. The other ones with suggestions, it will then pop up on the right hand side to say, what do you think about doing this, or what do you think about doing that? Which can be a bit annoying with certain things. Like there will be gifts are set to suggest. I'm going to change that to manual. I don't want to know about the gifts. I don't even want to do them. So I'm just going to ignore those. The other treaties and things, I'll just let them come through as suggestions, but I can put them to automatic if I don't want to think about them. Troop recruitment I've got to automated, but I can override that on a colony by colony basis if I'm wanting to. So I can actually I can step in the middle of these things and just sort of tweak them. And for fleet formation, fleet postures, and fleet ship management, I've set all those to manual because that's the most enjoyment I have from the game, is actually playing with those. So Sigmatica is saying, wait a second, monarchies were feudal. Well, it's different. Like it's more like warlords versus kings. So it's a little bit different. So the feudal thing is much more where the barons actually take much more control, whereas the Whereas the monarchy is very much like where you've got a king in charge of the whole, a king or a queen in charge of the whole operation. But then you've got other factions as well, like these guys will have a hive mind. These ones have got like a special sort of oligarchy that they actually have as their government type. Gizarians will have something different again. They're all completely different, which is really, really cool. Anyway, that's sort of where we are with this one. But so this is where your automation is, and there's so much you can automate in this game. This is why the game, don't think of the game as being overwhelming in terms of gameplay, because you can really automate anything at all. Like, even in terms of different types of construction, you can prioritize how things work. You've got different numbers of when to build different spaceports if you're wanting to. At this stage, I've just got it all, like this is all just automated. I don't care about it. Spaceport priority, I can chop and change how I want the AI to play. So even when it's automated, I can say, this is your ratio of how the percentages are for the different types of ships that I want you to build. And so we can sort of then go and really push things around in all sorts of weird and wonderful ways. This is all just part of this policy setting, which is really the key to enjoying the game, is to embrace this screen and change what you need to change. So we've got that one through there. We've got the next screen across is the diplomacy. And so we have the major factions. So Daots we're at war with at this point in time. And you'll see through here even things like this this is automated with how the AI should, if it does have automated decisions to make about this particular faction, what will they be based on? And in this case, it's set to auto and it's set to conquer. So conquer strategy means that your empire will prepare for war against this empire, moving your fleets into position for attack. You will also use a full array of espionage and sabotage missions against the empire. So even if we're not at war with them, this is still the footing is to eventually take them over. And so this is where, if the AI has to make a decision one way or another about how to handle them, it will do it with this in mind, that we're going to be conquering them. And I think all of these will be in that same... Oh, hang on, this is weird. We've got a befriend in through here. So befriend strategy means that your empire is more likely to work towards mid-level treaties, so migration, territory map sharing. I don't want that. I don't want them to be something that we befriend. I need to steal the long-range scanners off them. So I'm going to go in and change this one while we're here to manual. I can then go and change because I want my spies to go and get tech from them. And so we've got neutral, and if I go and click on neutral and just hover over, so we'll most likely work towards trade treaties and non-aggression treaties. You'll typically be willing to undertake a wide range of espionage missions against the empire, but no sabotage missions. So this is probably where I want to at least be, where I end up at least sort of targeting them, so that we could end up getting... And the AI will chop and change what it thinks of different factions, but in this case, it's not really seeing them as a major threat. And so at the moment, their reputation is good, which is unusual for the Boscara. So they've signed other treaties, they've destroyed some other factions. So their reputation is actually unlike typically the way that they actually are. Their overall reputation is fairly good. Now that can change very, very quickly, in which case we may want to go something else. But in this, if I go to neutral, at least we'll do the spying missions that I want. So I'll leave that one there where that is at the moment. And if I go back to this one through here, this one is set to auto with undermine. So undermine strategy means that your empire will undertake a complete array of espionage and sabotage missions against its empire in an effort to secretly undermine them. So it's fully open in terms of espionage in this instance. But so Boscara is the only one that I've actually decided to step in and change the automation settings there, just so I can actually keep it on neutral. Now, if they become aggressive, if I had kept it on automatic, it would have, and if I do this, it'll just chop and change to what it thinks it needs to do. So I think I'll still keep it on neutral, but I may put it back to auto at some other point. So they're displeased with us, they don't like us, and they're always going to not like us, to be honest. So they're troubled by your strange alien ways, which has got like a -10. So they're never going to be close to us with what we end up having through there. You can see the trade income there, 620 credits. Daots we probably ended up with more, yeah. The trade income, we had 21,000 credits there over the last 5 years. So eventually the Daots may end up becoming something that we don't try to conquer, but let's just see how we go to start with. We've got opportunities here to take these really, really incredible planets off them. So that's what we're going to be trying to do in this phase of the game. So we've got that one there. It's going to be hard to keep these holdings, by the way, when we sort of do go and grab them. So anyway, that's the the diplomacy. I won't go through the actual diplomacy with them. Pirates, these are the different pirates that we're aware of. We've got a non-aggression treaty with the Atuuk cartel, and we've got a protection agreement where we're paying them off for the Blackstorm Council. The Alphard bandits and the Boscara security we're at war with, essentially. So we're trying to befriend these. We're trying to wipe these out, ultimately with their pirate ships. So they'll be raiding us as well. Then we've got independent colonies. Actually, it looks like all the independent colonies have now gone. There was one over here. It's been taken over. And so somebody has claimed the independent colony that was sitting there. This was an independent colony, and that was an independent colony, but they were both invaded by the Daewits, and we've since invaded this planet and taken this one back over. So that's sort of the history of that one. We have alliances. This is new with the return of the Shakturi, where you can actually form full-blown federation. So think in terms of Star Trek. You can actually end up with like a Star Trek type alliance system where you end up with different factions coming in. But it's too early in the game for us to actually go and do that one. So form alliances in through there, enter a name for the actual alliance, like the Federation of Stars, whatever it might be, and then you try to sort of these do not want to join us. So it's just not really going to be suitable for now. But you never know. And so if you turn off the Shakturi events, you have access to this all game long, and so you can actually ultimately end up with a very, very, very sort of different way of playing with the actual alliance system in the game, and so you can end up with federation. So if you're playing as the humans or the Xenox or the Ekdarians, you may find a good opportunity to actually end up in alliances with other factions to bring them into actually a collective and sort of work together. Very much Star Trek is sort of what you think of in terms of what that one's got. Ambassadors, we've got 2 ambassadors. One's gone to the Boscara homeworld. The other ones we don't know where the homeworlds are. So I've set this ambassador to manual just so I can make sure that he just goes and stays at that location. So he'll just go there. He'll spy on that location for us as well. So we'll keep on getting essentially information about what they're doing on their homeworld. And so it's quite useful even from just a spy perspective. It can actually open it up to make it even easier for your spies to then operate. We have unknown skills, and so there will be skills that will make him either good, better or worse at helping our spies achieve what they have to achieve. Our spies, we've got 3 spies. At the moment, they're all just set to do counterintelligence because they're trying to stop the other factions from spying on us. And then we've actually got a prisoner. We've got a few prisoners here. We've got a this is a spy that we picked up from the Gizarians. So we've sort of just captured this particular one. So it's imprisoned at Roskari 1 at our homeworld. Actually, these have now been moved across to Roskari 1. They had 2 generals that were part of the invasion of the independent world, and when we took over the independent world, these 2 generals were still here with just the leftover troops, and so we ended up capturing both of these. Now these will be worth a lot in terms of being able to end the war. These are like hostages, so we actually have these available to us to use as hostages. So that's sort of like a bit of a backstory before we really get going with the way it's sort of starting. Again, it's a simulation game. It's like like this is not standard. It's just things are different every time you play it. We go across. This is characters. We've got an emperor back in through here with a whole lot of different sorts of abilities. That sort of either we've got bonuses or malices depending on what's actually going on. You can see there that the population growth is low from one of the traits. So there's one of these traits will be sort of a bit of a negative. Ambassador transferring out. We've got an admiral, commanding the 3rd Fleet from the Cruel Death, which is one of the ships. Again, I've set him to manual just so he doesn't move around. We've got a general waiting at the Fearless Sun. This is actually part of the invasion force, which is now moving out towards Taff. We've got 2 scientists, one at the Pembe research station over here, which we're trying to protect, and I've got another scientist sort of working in the back areas at the Fellis research station. So we've got a couple of scientists in through there. We do good science as this faction, even though we don't actually have technocracy as a government type. I've seen the spies and prisoners. We don't need to see those again. Only 2 colonies. Our home world, back in through here, which we're making a lot of money from. So 17,000 or nearly 18,000 income from that particular world. Cantrell 4, we've only just taken over this world and it's costing us a lot of money. So this is why you don't expand until you can afford to do it. So Zaradin has renamed a character, so reporting in to squash some bugs. Okay, well, I'll put you in, I'll start to rename the ships that are in the in the first fleet. We don't actually have any through there. By the way, if you are watching this on YouTube, I can only take the we call them DasDemptions. So if I go into the first fleet, and I'll just go into the Vindication of Verskuri, which is a frigate. Actually, there's a Cruel Death there. That's the this is the flagship currently of this particular fleet. So if I go into the Cruel Death, and so in Twitch you can actually redeem a name. If this ship gets killed, then so Zaradin will then be banned from the from Twitch, from the channel from being able to participate for half an hour. So anyway, that's so you get some skin in the game if you're watching on Twitch. So that's our first actual a DasDemption. Sev, who is on board this particular ship, is also a DasDemption. So Sev is one that was named the other day. So anyway, that's sort of where we are. So Sigmatix is saying, dude, you are taking spiders as hostage. Yes, we are. And RDKO is saying, this is a cool game. It's so different every time you play it. Every faction plays so differently. It's just crazy. Anyway, this is, so we've got this one going with the different colonies. So this one we've only just taken over. One thing we can see through there is the actual development is very, very low. So we need to bring in a whole lot of different resources to improve the development, and that will then make them a lot happier. So Korosami, don't want to worry you, but nearly every one of Daz's named ships has ended up exploding in fiery death, so lots of bans. Yes, it has, actually. And there'll be much more of that to follow as well. Tomorrow when I'm continuing the stream on the Slytherin channel, I won't get the opportunity, unfortunately, to really to be able to do the DasDemptions as such, because it's only really part of my own Twitch channel that I can sort of set that up to do that one. Anyway, let's continue on. So we've got so this is our colonies and outposts, only 2 of them. You'll notice that this is a different faction. This is Xenox. This was actually an independent colony. The Daots invaded it. That's why they had the 2 generals there. And then we declared war on the Daots. And part of that declaration, when I took over, the invasion fleet was already heading out to actually invade. And so that was the trigger for the war. And so we've taken it straight away. So we took the actual planet straight away, and so we now actually have like a number of troops and things on the planet. We're going to have a look at that at some other point in time. So we've got those in through there. In the new colonies and outposts, we do actually have. There's one here which is actually worth. This one's actually not bad. This is actually there is actually a potential colony there. And this one you can see it's showing white there, which means that the suitability is above 20, which means that we will end up making money from it. If it's below 20, like this is low suitability and low suitability for these 2 locations, we're not going to make money off those. So these we'll always be paying a lot to maintain a colony there. Whereas, so Zrelis 4, it was inside the Daot territory. We can colonize it right now if we wanted to, but then I have to protect it. So even though it looks great, I'm going to put that down as a long-term goal, not as a short-term goal. Now, if you're playing Stellaris or any of the other games, this would be almost like a must-have, must-grab, and go there. But it's so easy to invade planets in this game, like particularly when you first get them, that you really need to be able to protect them properly before you start to take these things on if you're in a dangerous situation, which is what we're in. Now, if this was not dangerous, and unfortunately it's actually in enemy territory, which means we couldn't do it unless we were at war. If this was not a dangerous situation, then yeah, I would go ahead and try to build that if we could. But building a colony ship is going to take a lot. You'll notice we've got 2 different ways of doing things. We can actually build a colony ship and establish an outpost. And so you can establish 2 more outposts in your empire. So there's a limit to the number of outposts you can actually have. Outposts can be very important, like at Tarf and at Yaris. These outposts are so that the actual Daots have got control over this system. So doing this invasion of this outpost is actually important to us. And similarly over here as well, because we need to get the spice. Not the spice, the fluid, the Zentavia fluid, which essentially is like spice in June. So we need to get the hold of these worlds. So anyway, this is another long-term goal, would be to get this one, like, essentially, we're going to get control of this area here, but our borders won't get pushed back as much as we would want. So yeah, it's going to be tricky unless we could take this world. This is only a new world as well, so potentially we could take that out as well at some point if we needed to. But the more I expand, the more I'm going to be paying through the nose for all these different outposts and colonies. So I've got to be very, very judicious about how I expand. Again, completely different to games like Stellaris. Colony ships, we don't have any. Planetary facilities, you can see there at Roskiri 1, which is our home world, we've got armor barracks. We've got defensive caverns, which we get by playing as the Wekkarus. So this one actually protects us from bombardment from space. We've got planetary palace, which is we get because we're playing as a monarchy, and so this gives us other bonuses. And then we have troop cloning facility, where we can sort of then do we can clone troops very, very quickly. Our troops aren't great, but they're good enough. So we can do it. We can be okay with those. There's artifacts. It's very important that we try to find artifacts in the game, and we haven't found any yet. But this for us is a major focus for us, is to find artifacts and accrue artifacts. So anyway, we'll come back. So that's the colonies. Exploration ships. We've got sort of like a fair number of these around the place. Looks like some of these are coming back in for repairs. They've actually been, if they've gone into combat. Like the Silent Interlude, for example, is limping back home to repair at Roskari 1. If I go and click on it, it's just taken a little bit of damage to its hull, but everything is sort of running. It just has to get fixed up. There's another one there. This one here, actually, no, they all look okay. This one here is going back for repair as well. And again, it's coming back in from fairly deep inside the area. This one here, we can see it's nearly completely run out of fuel. So its fuel is very, very low. Who knows? It may have actually had damaged fuel tanks, and then it's repaired them up over time. We'll certainly talk about the ships when we go into combat and how that all sort of then works. So these we don't really. I've got all of these set to auto. They're just out looking for whatever they can find, and so they're just sort of going from planet to planet, just looking around to sort of get as much information as possible. We still haven't found the home world yet of the Dayuts, so that must be sort of deeper out where we haven't done any actual exploration. So eventually we'll try to get more and more of these explorers to sort of continue on further out into space. This is just as the list of known, like we can filter to sort of find specific things. It's a search area. These are new to the game. This sort of just helps if you are trying to find something very, very particular. Known ruins, we've actually got a few of these. We've got one way down here that we've found, which gives other bonuses if you take them over. And we also have a secluded gate, which is sort of in our territory, which it's got like, all it really has is a scenery bonus here, which means we can actually have like a resort sort of around it. But there's nothing real, there's no major benefit for us with that particular one through there. This one here has got research. So there's the Grand Archives at Exophorn, which is going to be a moon. And so this one here, there it is there. And so this little moon, and you can see there the Dayuts have already established a mining station and a research station here. So they're actually using the shield research that they're getting from this particular ruin to then sort of get their research thumping along in that capacity. So that's sort of where we are there. Abandoned ships and bases. There is one called the Petra 2 spaceport, which is actually over to the side here. I don't know if I want it or not, but I can go and try to repair it and then sort of make use of the of this system here. I don't think I need it though, so I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to send a repair team out to fix up that abandoned spaceport. And then special locations. There is a gravitic anomaly back out through here that we've come across. And so this location has strange localized gravitic fissures. So there is actually, it's at this particular world here. And so this one is a strange planet. It's unexplored. But these gravitic energy fissures appear randomly at this location. They're slowly decay over time, but the entire area persists with these dangerous ruptures. And so we don't know what that is. We need to send research ships out to actually find out what's going on there. And that could be dangerous. It could be positive. We just don't know. With the nebulas, you'll notice that there's a real big cluster of nebulas in around here. This would be very hard to get into here because there's going to be nebula upon nebula upon nebula at this location. So we don't really know what it is, but that's also going to have something crazily dangerous. I would imagine that will be in there. It could be an old, like combat, like where there's been like a war where there's been massive explosions. And there could be all sorts of ruins and stuff in through there. We just don't know until we can sort of get a ship to be able to go through the nebulas. It's a big unknown for us. And so a lot of these nebulas, some of them will have planets in them inside them. Some of them won't. Like that one there, for example, that's inside the nebula. So there's something there. We don't know what it is. Probably nothing really all that important, but there is something that exists there. And so these nebulas you'll sort of see will sort of block travel in certain directions. So it creates choke points in space with what they then go and do. All right, the next thing is the resources. Now, resources, this is where the game gets crazy. And in terms of the number of resources, this is why it's a simulation game. And so this is where you don't have global resources. What you have is you've got localized resources. The only global resource you end up having is essentially your research and your money. They're the only things you actually have globally. Everything else has to be brought back to a physical location. And so you've ended up, like the resources you have, you can see we've got 17 resources when we select the fuel and construction resources in use. And so these are things that we need to actually either have mines established or access to. And you can sort of see the flow of resources coming through, and it looks like we're actually exporting something off to the Boscaran. So there's an export system going in through there, but most of what we have are flowing in, and so the different resources will sort of kick in through there. It's very important for, particularly for the critical resources, that we end up having sources and also actual mined locations that we control in through these different areas. So you'll see there that Caslon, for example, down the bottom through here, we've got 8 of the 20 sources we're aware of. This is our fuel source for our ships. And all of these different resources like steel, necrostone, silicon, Mebnar, all of these things are parts of building ships. So we need all of these at our home base to be able to build ships. And so this is why the private sector really looks after this. That's just the construction resources. Then if I go into the luxury resources, we end up with 64 of these. So we've got, and what the way that these work is, so there's 64 resources in total. A lot of them we don't know about. So there's some where we've got like different sources we can sort of see through here. But the more of these we can get, the more we're going to then get development happening on our homeworlds. And unfortunately, you don't really take much notice of these, so you don't really get connected with these resources, but they're all incredibly important for your colony development. So we are going to war over the Zentabia fluids. This is critically important that we control this one. Anything like the Zentabia fluid, the Loris fruits, we don't know where there's any Loris fruit. That's another really important one. That's going to also give like 26% colony development. This is massive in terms of the of what your colonies can then go and do. And then the last one down through there is the Caribbean spice. Those three, this is 22 colony development. There's and that gives also bonuses to research, for example. But the one that we are going to get, the one that we're going to be trying to take over at Taff and at Yaris, this Zentabia fluid, it's the only 2 sources we're aware of. And this one has got colony development, 10% colony happiness, which means we can get much more money, 50% troop recovery rate, so we can actually get our troops fixed up much faster. But it has to be at the location, so we need to control it. So that's the so it's not just good enough to capture it. You then have to build a mining structure to then bring it back to your homeworld. When it hits your homeworld, the people on your homeworld will then use it for what it actually does do. And so all of these have got different bonuses, like this is 4% colony development. This one here is 5% development with a little bit of extra income. And so all of these add up to make your colonies more effective. And so that's the mining resources, mining locations. These are where we've actually got different mines. There's heaps and heaps of them. Again, private sector, we don't have to worry about it. New mining locations, we can tell the private sector where to build mines. So we can actually say, look, I want you to go into enemy territory and build a mine here, so that we can actually tell them exactly where I want mines to be done. We also have mining ships which actually go out and mine different, and again, we don't control these are private sector, but they'll go off and mine the resources that we need. So when the planet says, hey, I really need a resource, these ships will go off and just grab that resource directly. So they've got the mining operation on board the ship, a bit like in the Alien movies, like the first ship in Alien. This is what these guys do. They go out and mine and come back to the world. Fuel tankers, we've only got a handful of these, and they're just loading different fuel. A couple of these are parts of the third fleet, for example. So we've just got a couple in the third fleet. These are also, or this Tenru has been named. So this one, if this one does get blown up, then Tenru will be banned. Yeah, so RDK is saying the better tariff those trade deficits. Yeah, we better. Anyway, that's the mining. Next one is the ship construction, and so we've got construction yards, new construction. We've got construction ships as well. These are going off and doing different things, building mining stations for for the Empire. A couple of them don't have any work to do at this stage. So these are construction ships. We need these to go and build up our infrastructure basically, and then finally we've just got build orders where we can actually go and order specific ships from the construction yards. This is an easier way to build. Like if I need more construction yards, I can just go down to here, click on that, and it'll show me where I can actually build them and how long it will take to build. So at Rasagiri, it's going to take me 158 seconds to build one of these ships. If I build them at Cantrilla, where I don't actually have any real infrastructure, it's going to take 1,325 seconds. If I go and add one, it says, yep, I've got one that can be built there. It's then going to go up to 315 seconds for a second one. So I'll go and grab a second one. Sorry, I'll just go and click on that one again. So it's still saying, yeah, I'm going to build 2 construction ships here. It's now going to be 472 seconds. And so I can keep on sort of just topping them up with ships. I can go into different other ships to sort of then go and get explorer ships. I can sort of get like a bit of a queue of what I want to have, and then click on purchase. But I'm not going to do that one. I'm just going to clear that because I don't want to do it. But that's another way of managing the game. Science. Okay, here we go. So we've got a research tree. We've almost got hyperdrive technology. It's still 1 and a bit years away. So this is our first tech actually that we're trying to get. At the moment, we only have the Rasagiri spaceport, which is giving us 18 research and 37 research from the 2 research centres. We need more research centres, and there's another one in enemy territory that I do want to go and get. That's another part of the where I've got the first fleet moving out. The one that we're going to be getting is also in the Yaris system. At the Yaris system, there is actually a research station here. And so I'm going to go and take this one over using my invasion force, and so this one ultimately will be something we try to then go and capture. And that's actually a mission that we've got. So a war mission, capture the enemy research station. So we want that research station. So that will then sort of expand our research. And they're worth going to war over too. They're very, very important. New research locations. There is one over through here where we do actually have... We've already got a construction ship heading out there to go and build here. So this will be our 3rd research station. And we've got research bonus amounts from different things, depending on what we've got. And then the 2 scientists. So that's our research. Then we've got the military tab. I won't worry about too much of these. These are all the different ships. That's the fleets. That's the troops. That's the admirals and generals that we've got. Defence bases, we don't have none. Monitoring stations, none just yet. Enemy targets, I can then sort of go through and actually, I can control the war automatically through this targeting system. And so you can see through here that we've actually got, for example, the Yaris Research Centre is considered to be a very, very important area. So I can go in and actually try to attack it. I can try to capture it, which is ultimately what I'm going to need to do. We have no fleet with fuel and engagement range to attack this target. So at the moment, none of this is out of range of all of my fleets. I can change that automatically though. But at the moment, we actually have this particular world through here at TARF is the one that we're going to be taking over. And you can see through there we've got, we can clear defences, we've got the bombardment if we wanted to. We've already got the 2nd invasion fleet is on its way to invade, so that's already happening. But I can actually queue up how I want the different fleets to manage the targets. So I've got complete control, or I can just let it be automatic. And I can sort of filter these. This is by priority, so the most important ones are to capture that world. The next important one is to do something at Yaris, but we don't actually have any ships here within range, and so that will change once we get TARF. The TARF 2 mining station back out through here. We can decide how we then sort of go and deal with that one, whether it's to capture it or to destroy it. Whatever we want to do. So we've got different things. And there is actually a ship, a fleet within range. So what fleet is in range? I think it's the 2nd. No, it's not the 2nd. The 2nd one's one we're attacking with. The 1st is way back in through here. This is the range of the fleet that we've got set up. Might be the 4th. Yeah, the 4th is actually within range of TARF, which is why it's showing up as being able to be targeted. So that's actually within the range. These are automatic fleets, and so they can be set up to do different things. The attack fleet, the 3rd fleet that we've got coming through, is actually under manual control, which means it won't participate in these automatic targeting things. But we can still tell it to go and do it. Anyway, that's fairly interesting. And then we have dangerous locations there with, last seen. We've seen different sorts of hostilities and so on and so forth in around the place. And when we last saw them. So there's a lot in the game. If you like a lot of these things, you don't really go and play with, but you can sort of go everywhere. Then you've got your civilian side. Again, you don't really control this, so it's just there if you do need it. Right, let's, with all of that out of the way, okay, Sigmatico has redeemed a name. Can you name the Centavia Fluid Well June when you capture it? Well, I need it to be your name. Sorry, Sigmatico, so I know to ban you if it gets taken over. Yeah, is it okay if I just name it Sigmatico? That would be good. So John is saying, is it just me or does every game go wild with the plagues ever since COVID? Yeah, it seems to. I've turned the plagues off in this game. Anyway, let's just continue on. So we've got these different fleets. We'll just unpause the game and sort of let it work. These are slow moving through space, because I can speed things up, but quite often things will actually occur within the actual game itself. So I tend to just let it play at its speed. As I said before, it's a simulation game before anything else, and things do take time. You can see there's a space creature back over through here somewhere that we've got sort of within range. The game will start to give me different messages when things occur. I really want to get this hyperdrive because we'll be able to then go twice as fast through hyperspace, and at the moment we're going fairly slow. The first is now starting to come forward and get close to where it's going to be, then try to refuel at this location here. So it's going to appear at this mining station. Here they come. And so they're now moving in. So this is the first attack fleet. And so they'll end up, this particular mining station has got like a lot of Caslon. And so they'll just come in. It'll take them a bit of time to set up while they're there. And then we're going to be able to do other things. So they're just going to be, that's the third fleet that we end up having. And so we can start to see different ships come up. This is the fuel range at the moment. There we go. It's now just gone out to here. Okay, so we've just come across another dangerous faction for us, the Mortallans. So, and if we go and zoom out, where do we see them? Analysts. I'm not sure. We're not seeing any sort of highlight there. So I'm not sure where they've been, how we've got the information about them. Who are the Mortallans? Yeah, there's nothing that's sort of showing up. So I'll just go and dismiss that one. Oh, there it is. Okay, see how it's just, when I highlight that one, it's just saying the Ardil military junta has been encountered. They must be in here somewhere. So that's another dangerous faction for us. At the moment, we've got insectoids, 3 insectoids that we've come across, and we've now just come across a reptilian faction. And the style of race that we end up having, whether they be humanoids tend to be friendlier. So reptilians tend to be more militant, but fairly clever. And then we've got the full-on bugs, which are usually not all that clever, but very, very violent. So we've got the so this is actually now, we've encountered a new empire in the Gudu system, which is inside our territory. So we can go in and have a look and see how do we find them. And so in this case, we've actually found an explorer ship from the Mortallan. So this is a Mortallan explorer ship, which has just sort of popped in, and so it's just checking things out. So you can see how far our explorers have got to. Like we've got some that would have gone out this far, I'm guessing. We've gone out to here. There's an explorer ship moving into the Bellatrix. So we're looking at the edge of their territory back out here, just from a reciprocal type sort of situation. But that's actually where they are. So they're going to be another. Now the reason we're seeing them is that they're probably close enough to something with a scanner. This one I don't think has a scanner, so there may be a ship that's come in close enough to be able to pick that one up. We've actually got a space creature in there somewhere hiding away, which we'll need to go and clean out after the war finishes. It could even be this ship here that's actually discovered it. This one here will actually have, if we go inside the actual ship, so this is actually just a little freighter, and it's got a short-range sensor array. And so the short-range sensor array, you'll notice there, and this is again where the simulation aspect, you can go as deep as you like in this game. The ship itself, for example, every single, like you'll see there, the crew systems take 6 steel and 3 polymer. Energy collector takes 4 silicon. When you've put all those things together, you end up with a resources required to build. Those resources have to be back at where their ship is being built for that to then be built. So you can't build. Every single ship has to have the resources available to go and put it together. In this case, though, it does actually have a short-range sensor array, and you can see there that the scanning range is 1M. If I go back out, a little thing that sort of, it doesn't tell you, again, the user interface, I just wish that there were little tools that you could actually go and grab from the user interface. But if you press the, I think it's the Alt key will have displaying distances. If I go and click on that ship and then start to drag out, I can see what the range is. Now, if I go out to where that ship is, see how it's just inside the 1M. That's 1M there. This ship is just inside the range of that ship. The actual mining stations don't have short-range scanners, but this ship does. And so it's now picked up that there's actually a ship there. And it's now identified that because it's within the range of it. It's identified that it's a Mortalan ship, which we haven't seen before. So this is the complexity outside of what we end up. You don't normally go in and do any of this sort of stuff. I just love that the game does this. So we weren't even aware it was there. Like it could still be, like I don't know how much of this exploration it's doing. So yeah, we don't get to see the missions because we can't see sort of what it's actually doing. But it will be there just exploring away on this particular planet. Now, this planet we've actually already explored. You can see there at 5 level, and it's green, which means it's been completely explored. There's no resources there, which essentially means that this one will have 2 different scanners on board. If I go and have a look and see what this one's made up of, it's got a resource scanner, which is a short range radar. And then it's got an advanced survey module, which is away teams. So it's got both of these different things. The away teams need to go, this one can do up to level 5 to see if there's something there, like exploration power of 5. If there's still something there, it will know there's something there, but it won't know what it is, and it will then send away teams, and the most it can get up to is 25. So in this case, we know that it's just going to be using its resource scanner. It's going to take maybe 40 seconds for it to check and see that there's nothing there, and then it will move on to the next system itself. So it's also just doing its exploration, but that was seen from this little freighter that's just come in, this light freighter. So anyway, that's just a bit of that's why that's actually happened at that particular location. If that freighter hadn't have popped in and out of hyperspace and got into the side there, essentially it's going to ultimately be like we wouldn't have even been aware of it. We wouldn't have even seen it until it got much closer to the actual mining stations. All right. Anyway, that's sort of done. Now this is we accidentally insulted the Mortalans, causing great offence. So they're not going to like us, but that's okay. They never were going to like us. Now, when we take this, I'm sort of then got a bit of a dilemma as to do I go back and retrofit once this is all done, or do I go and just go straight for the attack over here at Yaris? And I'm thinking I'll probably come back and start to do retrofits once we actually get this. We're at 90% now. Less than a year. Sigmatica is saying, spice must flow, Daz. Can you name it Dune, Sigmatica? Well, it's actually fluid. It's not spice, this one. But yes, I can. So it's, so all of these, everything is simulated in this game. Like it's so deep. So it's sort of like, even you can play it on 8 times speed but you miss so much. It's the little things I find so engaging in the game. Sigmund's saying, I know, but it's spice though. Okay, yeah, no problem. So Joe Bucker saying, Buckaroo Bonsai, there we are. So anyway, I'll just see if there's I don't think there's any other comments that people are actually calling out for me to look at. The fluid must flow just doesn't sound right, says Sigmatico previously. Anyway, let's continue on. So we're now going in this. Now, let's have a look at the third fleet. The third fleet, you'll notice its fuel range has now come all the way out to its... Oh, I didn't mean to do that one. I'm just going to stop. Clear the missions. So this one has been set to have no... Like its home base is the Roskiri 1 spaceport way back over here. But it's on manual control, which means I'm in full control of this particular fleet, which is sort of what I want. And I don't know what to do with this just yet. This is now fully refueled, and so we've got like all the fueling on this particular group. That's like our smallest ship goes out to here. I'm thinking we go and send it to Tough and end up with this being let's actually just work on this one little area to start with. And what we need to find is there fuel here? And yeah, there's one there. That's where we're going to be invading. But this mining station is actually a refueling station as well. And we don't know if there's anything here yet, so I might send the first across to put pressure on this system. So let's go in right from the start. There's nothing built there. There's that mining station there. There's these little numbers here mean that we've actually explored to a certain degree here, but we haven't actually gone very far. So there's hidden things in those locations. This is another mining station in here. So this is a volcanic moon that has got one of the luxury resources there. I think what I'll do is I'll send the if we go back to the third fleet again, this is well and truly inside our fuel range. So I'm going to send it out to destroy this one right now, and then we'll sort of chop and change to sort of figure out what else we can then go and do. So I'm just going to do a long right click and prepare and attack the mining station there. So we'll just send it out to that system. We still have our defense fleet sitting back there. Let's just let it go. Now, if this comes in and there's actually fleets here, and we won't really know until we're close, then we'll probably have to escape with these guys. Oh, the go-to system has just fallen inside the range of Nair. So now it's suggesting that we try to end the war. I'm going to decline that because I definitely want to take this system. Now, even if Godu ends up being inside their territory, it just puts pressure on the diplomacy afterwards. Or I could take Nair, which has only got 114 Xenox living on there, which, like, that was an independent world. Not going to really worry about it. Now, they're offering to end the war because their war weariness is actually kicking in fairly badly. I'm going to decline this because I need to. I can even just leave it there. If I don't do anything, there's a slider that will go down to 0. But I don't think we're going to be. I don't think we'll have the invasion done in the time that we can say, yeah, we'll end the war. So I'll leave it there for now, and we'll just watch as that sort of slides away. If we don't do anything, that means we haven't agreed, because that's what we've. We haven't set that to auto. Oh, maybe we might be okay here. Let's have a look and see. And we're now flying in, and the scanners that we've got on board should start to pick up if there's. See how there's ships in here. We don't know what they are because the scanner that we have on the ships coming in hasn't been able to pick them up yet. But as we get closer to the target, they could be anything. And we'll start to now pick up. These will then start to become firmer probably when we come out of hyperspace. Yeah, we're out of hyperspace now. These are just freighters. So we've got freighters coming in to pick up incense. That one's got fuel, so it's dropping fuel off at the world. This one has got this has got Zentavia fluid that it's actually picking up there as well. There is actually a Boscara explorer ship there as well at the same time. And on the moon itself, there's no troops. And so this is an easy win for us. Now, hopefully, we've got what we like. Hopefully, we'll get the expansion done. Sorry, this invasion done, so we can then just come straight through and claim it. But we may need to just stay at war for a little bit longer. But the fact that they've actually asked us is actually good, because it means that they're wanting to finish off the war. They may not want to do it, though, once we take this world, but we'll see what actually does happen here. So our invasion force is coming in. One thing I'm just going to do with this invasion force, which is my second fleet, is just tell them, and I forgot to do this one, just to tell them to go to a tight formation, and just so they sort of stay in fairly tight. Here they all come in. The fleet has now arrived. Some of them will stay back because they won't have any troops on board. Like that one there has got no troops on board it. The other ones have got troops on board. Yeah, we're going to run out of this. I'll just decline that one. And so that there is a heavy escort, which is just going to come in and sort of just protect the world a little bit. These will start to all run off when we come in. So this is the invasion. So that's another heavy escort. Then we've got the, that's heavy escort. This is actually troops. You see the troops on board there. No troops on board that one. No troops on board that one. And some more troops involved there. That one there is moving off. Now they're going off to attack a pirate ship that's just come in. This one's actually going in to raid this particular station. I don't want them to do that. So I'm going to tell these guys that that's not what I want them to do. So the second fleet, I want them to continue with the invasion. So invade that one and don't move off. The others are sort of now thinking that they can possibly sort of just go off and do what they need to do with that pirate ship. Let's just go and sit here. Yep, so invading an enemy colony. So we now actually, what happens with the invasions is that we've now got the moon itself is coming through here. There's no troops. So it's going to be very, very simple. It's only got a defensive strength of 3. It does actually have a day population, but a very, very small one. Let's just let the troops appear. They'll appear here very, very soon. There they come. And so you can see through there what's actually happened is we've just dropped in 3 troops. And those 3 troops have now engaged with the militia, which is actually from the population that was there. And what we've got is they've got no bonuses here. We hate this planet type because we're an aquatic faction. And so we actually have a negative 20% fighting on this world. But we do actually have overwhelming odds because we're actually going with actual troops against their militia, and we have space control. And so we'll then push them back. There should be more troops that will then land. There we go, some more troops are now landing. Now, in the meantime, I think I will just, now they've all gone off to fight that other pirate ship, which I'm not really interested in them doing that. So I'm going to, so with that particular fleet, I do want to take out this here. I want to capture this. So I'm just going to go to the second fleet again. So they're going to invade, they're invading that as their actual mission, but these individual ships have decided that it's now viable for them to go and take out. So we've got heavy escorts which are coming in to attack the actually that one there is a Dressau 2. That shouldn't be the case. I've got old designs here. This is actually a fleet frigate, which is going to be fairly powerful, more powerful than what we are. So I'm going to have to sort of micromanage this. But the interesting thing here is that these guys will ultimately sort of bring down the shielding, which will then make this one viable for us to then go and capture. So they're firing back with they're using torpedoes. Only one of the torpedoes hit this particular ship, and we've already now taken over this colony. So we've invaded and taken over the colony. So I'll just go and dismiss that. Now what we want to do is we now want to go with this fleet and take the Caslon mine, because we want to make sure that we've got fuel here. So on the planet itself, they've garrisoned 5 troops. So we now have the Zentavia fluid, and so this one is now going to be June. It's only an outpost, but it's June Sigmatico. Now, if this planet gets bombed and we end up losing it, so it's only an outpost, is all we actually have through here. So it is going to drain money at a fairly strong rate. So we need to. The benefit needs to be more value than the cost. So it's costing a fair bit at this point in time. But I will just now go back to the second fleet and tell them that we need to capture this. So I'm just going to do a long right click, prepare and capture Taft 2 mining station. So that's now what they're going to be doing. The first fleet is on its way across. So I'm going to send the first fleet. I'm going to change, sorry, the third fleet. Third fleet I'm going to change to now go after this pirate. So I'm just going to tell it that that's actually now its target. To attack the Immortal Fate. So it's using point defense to try to damage the torpedoes that are coming in. There are, this is a commuter, this is a passenger ship. It's coming in to refuel. Now we just hit that one. The ships that we see through here, our little frigates, these little escorts we have, these are an old design. I never actually told this particular fleet to update it, to upgrade. And so this one here doesn't actually have any armor. And it's only got shielding, which is actually a bit of a problem. If the shielding goes down or fails, essentially it's just damage straight into the actual middle of the ship. I would always prefer to have at least some armor. So the actual design that we made was to fix this up, but we do actually have pulse wave cannons here. And so what these do is these do a lot of, these are very, very strong weapons. So playing as a Wekkarus, we have a bit of an advantage with those, but not against a fleet frigate. This is actually going to be more powerful. This Murmansk design has got big rail guns and a sentinel multi-beam. So it doesn't have massive abilities, I guess, with what it can do, but it's got lots of armor and shields in through there as well, much better than what we have got. See how fast we move? We move really quickly in combat. Oh, here we go. We've now changed our tunes, and so we're now coming in to try to get the shielding down here. If we go back to the second, so these guys have still got a boarding assault strength there of 819. So they'll try to get their boarding parties onto this mining station. To do that one, they have to reduce the shielding, which is that outer blue ring, in through that other side. The pirate ship is also trying to raid it, and so it's going to be attacking this mining station to reduce its shielding down. The other ships that are coming through, these are also coming in to try to capture. So at the moment, everyone's trying to bring the shielding down of this. So we've now changed our tune here with what we're doing with this particular ship. This one is now changed. You can see there's an arrow pointing back. It's going to attack us now. So even though it's trying to raid, it's going to defend against this ship. But this ship has now changed its own target. So it's quite complex. I'm not moving these individually. The mining station is still attacking the pirate ship. Oh, here we go. So the Boscara Ascendancy has declared war on us. So we now have a problem where they're coming up against us. So we'll dismiss that one. But we've almost got what we need to try to end this war. So the Boscara, which have been sort of left alone to a large degree. Oh, this is now interesting as well. I might just point out why we're seeing this flick around. So Nair and the borders have now switched back again. The borders in the game, because this actually does confuse people, essentially they are circular coming out from the planets, and the maximum influence that they can have is really a factor of the colony development. So the more developed and the more resources you have, the more the borders will expand. So at the moment, Roskiri has got like a lot of development, so the borders get pushed out. Now, each planet that gets affected by the border between each planet is halfway between each other entities. So Nair is a good example. You can see it's halfway between Tarf. We now control Tarf because we've taken over this location. It's halfway between this VE 639, so it's halfway there. It's halfway between Kantria and halfway between Gudu. Its level of development is not high enough to overcome the level of development from Rossagiri. So Rossagiri is still control of this one, but it's really on the edge. And so it's going to flick back and forwards between the two of them. No matter what happens, we're not going to give up Gudu. So Gudu is going to be even if they end up in control of it, they don't get what's there. We have to give it over, but it's going to be causing more issues. The trouble we now have is we've actually established some really big areas in through here. What we can do is we can see, because we've got an ambassador sitting back in through here in their home system, we can see what they've built and what we have to defend against. And so what we're looking at through here is their current, this is their home world. So Shoriat, actually, is it their home world? Yeah, it would be. Yeah, it would be. And we can see even just by hovering over these fleets, their third fleet is a big fleet. It's worth nearly 2,000 combat points. And so if we have a look at the actual fleets they've got, so this is the Boscaran ships. So they've got some pirate ships that they've actually taken over. If we go back into the, I'll just go to each of the actual fleets. If you go zoom out far enough, you can actually then go and click on an actual fleet. So we'll go to the third fleet. So this is actually a, let's make sure we are paused, which we are. And so this has actually got 17 ships in it. It does have an admiral. So this is Zandri Jutub, which has got like a whole lot of different bonuses in through there as well. They've got some fuel tankers, a whole lot of frigates back in through there again as well, heaps of them. And then I've got some heavy escorts as well, along with a few other escorts that it looks like they've actually captured from the pirates. Sigmatic is saying if the planet turns out to be unprofitable, you can ban me as well. No, we need that planet. We need that planet. So, okay, so, yeah, so Klingler's saying, I just like the no troops thing because it's not true. Some militia should spawn. And yeah, we should actually know what that's going to be. Take the cats, everyone likes cats, says Klingzog. Why did it go away, though, if you've already set it to invade? That's one thing that keeps them bugging. They tell the fleet to do a thing and it just disappears to do something else. Well, it works because that's the way that we've told the ships in that fleet to behave. It's complex, but I don't worry about them too much. But the ships at the moment, so the reason that they went off to do what they were doing, and in the TARF system, so the reason that this little group went off with some ships to go and invade this particular pirate ship when it arrived, is they had no role to play in the invasion of June. So June Sigmatico was the planet we just took over. So they had no real role there, and so they were looking for other things to do. But so this is the second fleet here. The second fleet, if I go to the tactics screen for that fleet, you'll see there that the fleet engagement range is 50M. So it's actually a big range. It will keep on looking for targets inside that range, and so and the ships themselves also then have specific requirements inside what they have. This is going to find an engagement range of the same system. If I don't want them to go off and do this, what I can then go and do is tell them do it only when attacked or nearby 5,000 range. And so even if I had the 5,000 range set up there, and so for example, these ships are probably set, I think, to 5,000 range. Yeah, they're just set to same location, which means a location is essentially the system around this. Now, this particular TARF 2 has got 2 moons, which is the location. So the location here is all of these planets. So they will still look after everything just around this little area. The same system as everything in here. So, but 5,000 is even smaller. Like if I go, for example, where the invasion was, press the Alt key and click on that. So that's 5,000 there. 5,000 is usually just one planet, is pretty much what you're going to end up having. So the smallest range is that. If all of the ships had been set to 5,000, they wouldn't have gone off looking for other things to do. So that's sort of how you can control that. And I can control that for the actual ships themselves, like very simply, just by going into 2. I can just go and grab, for example, one of the troop transports, an individual ship through here, go and set the tactics, and go to nearby 5,000 range, and then I can scroll down and say apply these tactical settings to all ships in the fleet. Done. And so that's applied to all of them, including the little escorts, which are still coming back in to do other things. This is now a nearby. It's not going to wander off and do that again. So I can control that just with those settings. It's again, you've got to know that those settings are there, which is again a bit of a problem, but you do have complete control ultimately if you don't like the way that a fleet is behaving. So that's how you then solve that particular problem. So Warmick is saying things that I think they're saying the AI thinks it knows best, I guess. Well, it will do certain things based on all of those little factors, like these ships here, for example. If we have a look and see what they're doing, their attack stance is neutral and cautious, but we had them by default to be aggressive. So they've actually now only just changed, and I actually do want these to be aggressive, and I want them to be aggressive. So if they do find a target, this is for the escorts, when there's an escort here, I definitely want it to actually, one thing I will change there is the 2050, because I want them to actually close the gap. So I want them to go hunting, these little escorts, but I don't want the troop transports to do that. So apply these tactical settings to all ships of this role in the fleet, bang, done. It applied it to 2 other ships. So there's only 3 escorts in the fleet, and so they've now all got aggressive. They're going to be getting in closer to try to close the gap to sort of do this damage here. So anyway, with this mining station, it's going to take a bit of time before it comes down. So yeah, we've got those. This one's still coming in. This war here, and if we have a look at our third fleet is about the same strength as what the Boscarans have got. They're going to be damaging a lot of stuff in here, and we won't know. We can know what's going on here because we've got the ambassador, so we can sort of see that like their 4th defense is only a few ships. This is hardly anything. Like this is really quite weak. But that 3rd fleet and the 1st defense is also just a handful of ships. It's still fair. Actually, they've got destroyers. All right, so they've actually picked up destroyers here. Yeah, they're retrofitting. Okay, let's have a look and see. How'd they get those destroyers? They've captured pirate ships. These are powerful. All right, so this is much more powerful than anything we've got. So it depends on what they do. Now we're not seeing an invasion fleet here, so they could have an invasion fleet coming in. If that comes in, we're in trouble. They also could go after the Fellas research base that we've got. Where is it? Over here, I think. Yeah, that's a resort base. I'm not too concerned about that. But there is actually a research station here. That's a mining station. Maybe it's over here. That's a mining station as well. I know I've got one in here somewhere. Surely it's got to be here. It's mining. It's a resort base. Ah, there it is. Yeah. This one here. If they attack this and capture it or destroy it, we've got a scientist here. This is Rhetoric Jutula, who I don't want to lose because he's actually got some more research bonuses there, and so he's someone that I do need to try to protect. I can't leave the fleets to go off away from here, so I need to now do something with the 4th Defence Force and bring that one back home. At the moment, it's actually protecting this the home base. We've nearly got the next hyperdrive. It's half a year away, which is about the time it's going to take to get these ships back to the home port here. So I'm going to change the 4th to not have the home base at Pim Bay Research Centre. I'm going to have its home base set for the actual Ruskari 1 spaceport, just because I'm thinking that's where the attack's going to be. This is now set to automatically defend. It will just automatically go back home, which is now here, and so it'll move back on its own into that location. So if I go back to the 4th, even though it's here, this is its area, so it's going to then go to that location. And what I might do is because if we do pick up that there's going to be something happening, see how the actual area that it's got doesn't quite get to the Fellas area. Let's just go to the tactics for the fleet and change the 50M to 100M. That way we cover the bases. And so if we see that there's an attack going in, this one will then move off to try to cover that attack. And what we have to hope is that if a fleet from here moves off, like if their 3rd fleet, see how their refueling doesn't even go out that far? So there's really nothing much that they can do immediately. They're going to have to fuel somewhere first. So their fuel range is not far enough to actually threaten us. So they're a fair distance away. So I don't think we don't have to panic about this yet. This is going to be a long-term war. Now, unfortunately, we do actually have something else happening over here. What's this? We've got a mining station. We may lose that. If that's the case, so be it. That's not really going to be a major problem. But we now actually have our second war. So let's just keep on going with what we've got through here. We do want to finish off this war as fast as we possibly can. So we'll try to sort of get that one concluded once we actually take this mining station. Let's just keep it coming in. Incoming, here we go. Incoming fleet detected. The third fleet of the Boscara have been detected travelling towards the Noble Star Rider. So where's the Noble Star Rider? We're going to get a few of these sort of messages. This is a navigator, so one of our explorer ships happens to be inside in the Game system. It's moving away from its home system to go to the Game system to take on our little ship. There's already some other ships in through here, which are also targeting us. This is a troop transport. This is interesting. Actually, if we find more troop transports, is this part of a group? No, it's not part of any group, unfortunately. So we can't see an invasion force, but this is another troop transport. The bugs are going to be going crazy trying to sort of land. They end up with lots and lots of population everywhere. These have got some troops already on the board, so they're building these ones. They've got an armor barracks built here as well. So they're going to be. This is going to be one of their colonies that they use for invasions. So we're going to have to start to protect against this one. But as I said before, their fuel range is not far enough yet to make that a major threat, but it will at some point. So we need to get on top of this money situation, and so we can build bigger fleets. We're going to need to probably get another attack fleet, I think, ultimately. Let's just continue on inside here and just watch what actually happens. So we can ignore that one. That's just we're going to escape that. This pirate ship is still actually active, and it's actually firing at this as well. Actually, we've got other ships now firing at it as well. Okay, now what's happened here is the shielding has now come down. So the shielding is down on the actual station itself. If we have a look at the actual station, I'll try to sort of step through bit by bit what's actually happened, because you'll notice that the ships have now started to go and attack this pirate ship now. But this has now come through. There's actually there's groups on board. So we've actually got the this is the Wekkarus are attacking. So we actually have 616 troops against 533 Daoits, which are actually the garrison of this particular mining station. So we've got our boarding parties on board here, but the important thing is the shielding is now down, and we can see that there's different things that has occurred in this instance, and certain things will be, you can see things have been disabled. Once you've got Marines on board a location, they'll start to pull things down so that they're no longer active. So in this case, their shielding has been disabled. They've still got a normal field generator there, but the shielding itself has been sort of drained away. Armour has taken some damage. So we can start to sort of see exactly what's going on inside this large mining station. We've still got crew systems, which will give it some protection as well. And they've got a command centre as well in through there. So eventually these things, like if we can then sort of take everything down, it's essentially going to then sort of fall away. So at this point in time, our second fleet has still got a little bit of boarding assault strength, and they'll send in boarding parties to go and still do more. So we're still attacking this. It's mainly the little escorts are doing that. Now this one here doesn't have any assault strength. Yeah, we've now used up all of our assault strength, which means that we should have we've got a little bit more than what they've got. We may have to do this a few times to actually go and capture this. The first fleet is still moving into this location. Now at 94, we're nearly there now with this. So yeah, they're automatically now going back to protect that homeworld. And we have one angry colony. It's not rebelling yet. This will be tough, but we certainly have the people on board there. Yeah, so the Taft 2 mining station boarded and captured. We now have Caslon at this location. So this is now an important source of fuel. The escort is now under attack by the Taft 2 mining station. That's okay. The pirates have now disappeared. So we've now captured this particular station. Not too much damage has actually occurred with it. Just one weapon and one One defence is actually sort of out offline. So if we have a bit of a look to see what's going on with that one. So one of its Epsilon torpedoes has been damaged. One of its standard armour has been damaged as well. Health down to 14% there and down to 55% for that one. Everything else is actually operational. And so the shielding will now start to come back up. We've got 2 docking bays, which is good. That is going to allow our ships to then refuel. So we'll go back to the second. You can see there we've taken damage with the heavy escorts. Because we don't actually have any other locations there. On board we do actually have our general on that particular one. It's an unusual place to put the general. But they're now moving away because they've taken damage. So what I'm going to do here is, well really I'm just going to move all of these back home, I think. So I'm going to, it says to attack the Haradu mining station. I don't want it to do that. We're going to move it back home. So I'm just going to tell it to go back. And this is, we've got this one manually controlled. So I'm just going to go back in and tell it to go back in here and just refuel and repair. So just repair at the Roskiri 1 spaceport. Or I could just go here. This will go back to June and actually refuel and repair. But I want it to go all the way back home. So I'm just going to go back to even just refuel, and it will then, we can then just tell it to go and repair as well. So it's going to make its way back there. It's slightly out of fuel range for some of these guys. They've taken a bit of fuel damage. If I click on one of the troop transports, that's inside their range, so they'll be okay. It's just there's just a couple of injured small escorts that are going to cause a bit of an issue. So I think it's time for us now to go and approach the Dayuts and end this war. So this is the Dayuts surveillance oligarchy. You can see through here that before we actually had this one set to like automatically the AI was deciding it should be conquer, but now it's gone to undermine. So, and this is fine. I'm just going to speak with them. Their war weariness is tolerable at -9. Ours is still only -1, I think. We'll just go and speak with them. And so we can either negotiate a deal or offer a treaty. And I'm happy just for a white peace at this stage. So I'm just going to go and offer. We suggest ending our pointless war. Now, they may reject this, but then come back to us, I'm thinking. So, so we've taken a world that we didn't want to lose. And so we may now be in a position where they're really quite angry. I should just point out before we go and do that we actually do have, you can see there, we've got a fairly high, they've destroyed one base of ours, which is only worth 3,800 in terms of the war score value, but we've actually destroyed 2 of their troops. The colonies captured, we've captured Cantrilla 4 and June Sigmatico. So we've got both of those, and we've also captured the Taft 2 mining station. So that's essentially what we've done in the war, which is giving us a reasonable amount. We can get it much, much higher if we keep on going. We also have these different objectives. We need to defend our homeworld, and so if we hold out for another 6 months or so, that's then going to give us another 50,000 if that hasn't fallen by that stage, which is good. And if we do hold out, our war weariness will then drop by 0.5. And so I'm just going to grab myself a drink of water. Be right back. Yep. So that's one war thing that we have. We also had to defend the important research station here at Pembe. And again, that's going to, if that goes to next year, so in about a year's time, we end up with another bit of war score coming back into there. We get more happiness for a year. And then finally, if we did capture the other one through there as well, we end up getting a little bit more of a research progress towards one of the fever cures back in through there as well, but also more war score. So we can get war score by just doing these objectives. But in this case, what we'll do is we'll end up with the... with essentially just moving this one off. So I won't worry about that one. We'll just see if we can actually go and end this war. So I'll speak with them, and we'll offer a treaty, and we'll just go for a. So in this case, just offer suggesting end our pointless war. Yes, we agree to end the war. Great. Now that's often that won't happen, but usually once you start talking in these sorts of terms, they'll start to try to figure out a way to make it work. In this case, white piece, even though we're actually dominating, white piece is fine. So that we just keep what we took, and that's it. So the Day Out Surveillance Oligarchy is displeased with us, but that's fine. So we'll just go and say goodbye. And at that point, yeah, we've recently ended a war. Still undermined. That's fine. I'll just leave that one there. The Boscara, we had set this one to neutral. I'm going to put that one back to automatic. In fact, if I go back to neutral and then go to conquer, that is going to be, but I'll put it back to auto, because now that we're actually in this sort of frame of mind with them declaring war, we will ultimately, the AI will now focus more on these sorts of more aggressive approaches with what's actually happening, which is going to be fine. So we'll go that way. Yeah, so they will eventually, we're going to have to wipe out their fleets. So we have to hope that we end up with all of this extra, like by getting the Zentabia fluid back home, that hopefully this will then make a big difference to what we're doing out through here. So anyway, we'll just continue on. Unpause. Now the the third fleet I can actually send home. So I'm going to go back. So accept war mission, defend important research colony. We do have to now defend Fellas. So I'm going to say yes. So I'm just going to go and accept this particular one, because that is now important. And I'm thinking this the third fleet, I have to get it back home, but I have to refuel it somewhere. So I can refuel at Taft too. So I can go straight in here, fuel up, and then go back home to get retrofitted. So we can then be a lot more responsive with what we're doing. So I'm just going to go and tell it to refuel at Taft 2. So that will be what it does. And I'm going to set it back to auto as well. And so just so that I don't have to think about the actual fleet. So at the moment it's set to manual. The actual template is an attack fleet, which is sort of like the makeup of the fleet, but its role is just set to manual. Now I'm going to tell it, its home base is actually Rosgiri 1 as well, so it's going to go back home. And I'm going to tell it that its role is to defend initially. And you can see there, it's also defending the Fellas region. So I'm going to go and set the tactics here to be, I'll keep it to 50M. Actually, that takes it outside. I'll make it to 100M with what it's doing. So I can just sort of override what these ships do. And so this one ultimately, and I've now put it back to its own role. So it's actually now it's going to refuel there as its first priority, and then it's going to move off. Now, the game has recently changed where, when this one does come in, the docking bays have had a bit of love and a treatment, where, like this one here, if we have a look at the actual large mining station, it's got 2 docking bays. And each one, 2 docking bays there, 4 docking bays in total. And the throughput here is 500 per second. Now, any ship that comes in to refuel will go to the docking bay to refuel. If it's not able to do it that way, it will have to refuel remotely, and that takes a lot longer. So by having all these docking bays on the actual mining station itself, means we can pick up the fuel very quickly, which is good. That's actually a new change. So I'll just let these things come back in. So for I was saying, not June, but Arrakis, yes. Well, it's actually Sigmatico's call. It's his DasDemption. Now there goes this fleet here. So this fleet is now going off. The second invasion fleet is going back to refuel at Rosgari 1, even though there's a few damaged ships. So we've got the 3 little escorts were all damaged. I'm happy with that. It's going to take them a time. When they run out of fuel, they will then actually end up limping home, but they will get there eventually. And then what I'm going to do is tell them to retrofit. Now, there's still a ship there. Which ship is this? Oh, this is the one of the little escorts that we had picked up. So here comes the other ships for refueling. They're going to go into the station, and 4 of them can dock at a time and refuel. And if we go back to the third, we'll see the refueling take place as they dock, and then they'll leave the different areas. So you can see how fast this is happening, which is great. And so this is new in the game. This is part of the new big update that they've just had recently. This is manual refueling, I think. Oh no, it's going Go back to the planet. I thought it was manually refueling that ship. But these are all sort of now picking up. Some of them will be manually refueling with the station itself. But these are all now just coming back in to get the refueling from the docking bay. Again, as a simulation, it's all got to happen. It doesn't happen remotely. It's actually got to do it within the rules for every single unit in the game. So these are coming out fully refueled. So we're full of fuel in through this other side. You can see there's no other things docked there. So the third fleet, now I've set this one to automatic. It still looks like there may be, no, actually all the ships are pretty much done. They'll then sort of figure out, okay, that mission has now been done. It will then say, yep, that's complete. Maybe when these all leave. And it will then go and decide to go home at that point. Now I can tell it to go home, but ultimately when it's considered that this is actually now finished, here we go. We've actually now got a mission. So send the first defense force to go and attack a Gravelex, which is just a creature. So it's wanting to send it off to the Cantrella system. Now again, I don't think we're going to see a major problem here. You've still got the third fleet sitting there. Just go and click on these. Yeah, we've got actually there's the invasion fleet. This now allows us to see what we're going to face when they come after us. And you can see there's not enough fuel, so they can't reach us with their invasion fleet. This is the yellow line that we see on the outside. The first line there is the jump range. So as long as they can jump to any old system, they can then jump somewhere else. Now that there, what we're going to have to figure out is, do they have a Caslon refueling station nearby? So our focus is now going to be changed from here across to here. You can see that we are making money again, which is good, even though we're sort of negative with the cash flow. So the drain on the economy with these areas is sort of kicking in a little bit with what we're doing. So to send this, I'm going to say yes to that one because I don't really have a good reason to use this one at this stage. We're at 98%, but this is so close anyway. So let's just go and assign the mission. And so that first defense force will now go off and kill off this space creature, which we've now identified over here as a threat. And so this will then be the one that the first defense force. And again, I'm getting it to suggest these missions to me. I can just have them set to auto if I don't want to be managing the fleets. But in this case, I want them to suggest to me what they're going to be doing. Let's just keep it going. This one's now coming back home. So we're sort of safe-ish over here, but we are going to have to move another group out, and it's probably going to be the fourth, I think, that we end up sort of moving out that way. So the fourth is coming back in to the Rosgiri 1 spaceport, and then they will run out of fuel by the time they get there. Okay, so the Atuuk cartel is offering us a system name. Now, I don't need to be friendly with them anymore, so they're over here. I'm just going to say no, because the money I'm going to have to start to save up for an addition to our fleet. We're going to need to build another big fleet to be able to protect against the Boscara. Oh, hang on, we didn't have a good look at hopefully it's still here. Yeah, second invasion force is still here. The third has gone off, and we know that it was going off to the Cantrella system. Oh, sorry, the Candrella system. So their third fleet was going over to here, where we had one of our explorer ships, and so that sort of keeps that one out of the way. But this is actually now they're going in for retrofits already. So what are they retrofitting to? This is actually, of course, going to be interesting as well. We can actually have a look at their individual ships because we've still got our ambassador here. So the ambassador is reporting very, very important information back to us. You can see there that they've got the actual fleet, the fuel range of the fleet. There must be one ship that's actually really poor with fuel. There is actually the one under construction here, and it's possibly fuel tanks or something that's being changed over at this point in time. But anyway, they've got like 5 infantry and 8 armor. When they attack, we're going to have to destroy the armor. The armor will sort of pretty much wipe out nearly anything we've got on our planets, and so we have to get rid of those when they do hit the systems. So, but they're going to need to refuel. So let's go and see where, because we've actually done a lot of scanning through here. We can refuel here at this particular pirate station because we're actually no, we don't have refueling yet. But essentially, they can't refuel at that location. Let's just go back into our resources. and click on, we won't go luxury, we'll go to fuel and construction, and we'll just go and click on Caslon. Now this is where they can refuel. So this is actually a refueling station that they will have. That's not going to be close enough, and they possibly, unless there's multiple. No, see how this one here, the only thing around this one is actually the pirate base. So they can't they can't really refuel from here easily. The only refueling they have is here. So our war objective for us is going to be to destroy this mining station or to capture it. If we capture it, we then want to actually have something we then a presence here. And so once we have that, it stops them from refueling to get close enough. So that alone protects our systems. Otherwise, they're going to be using this to refuel. They also have potential refueling over in here. We can't see that there's a mining station there. It's got 28 mining ability. Just see how fast they can mine from this one here. It's only 6% for that one there. Yeah, it's not oh, it's only 44%, sorry. But there's also an asteroid belt in around it. So I think what we'll do is I might just destroy it, and like once we actually get our ships with the hyperdrives. Let's go back to the fleet. What are they actually doing here? Actually, are there little fleets? They're retrofitting as well. And so if we have a look at the actual design, if we go and click on a frigate here, this is, let me see what it is. That's a Ratlam 3. So what have they got? Standard armor, deflection shields, Jerex hyperdrive, which is what we've got, I think, at the moment. If we have a look at our ships. No, that's what they've got. So they've got to that level of tech before we did. So they've got the next level. So they're actually getting to the point where they can jump twice as fast as we can. So we're almost there. We're at 98%. We'll get the Jerex hyperdrive next. So I'll keep that going. And then we'll get all of our ships to be able to then respond. And so it's no point really doing that until we actually sort of get there. So this you can see how this is what I mean about the game just being sort of beautifully unbalanced, but with things that sort of start to make sense. This system here is the halfway point between the two empires. We also have a refueling station over here. These two systems become the key to the whole war by controlling that fuel. It stops everything. Now they can build up up ships that then have even higher ability to then move off. Actually, you've got a resort base that's now been completed there. But we do actually end up, this here becomes so important, even though it's just a little old mining station. Like, it's really, in the grand scheme of things, it's not critical. It's different to what we had through here with this outpost. But, yeah, once we bring everything back, we can destroy this, and then we can actually build our own and sort of have like a presence sitting here with our third fleet. And while we keep on getting positive cash in this way, I may change one of my other fleets into something bigger, but let's actually wait. We've almost got the hyperdrive now, so one more day, essentially. There it is. So we now actually, and we're finding, like, as we sort of recover different things, we're salvaging a whole section in the Xeralis system. Where's the Xeralis system? Sorry, where is that? In here. So there's been combat in here, which we're not even aware of. There's actually other little ships there as well. There's a Boscaran ship, probably just an explorer, I would think, at that stage. But in the Xeralis system, there's actually been some sort of combat, and we've actually been able to pick that up. So if we have a look to see, God, where is it? This one here. We found detailed maps. So there's been something in here where we've probably got like a ship. Here we go. We've got this is picking up. Yeah, there's been some damage done in here. So there possibly was a combat that was happening. So you can see that it's actually going around and picking up hull sections. So there'll be some loot somewhere in this system, where it's just that's what it's doing at this point in time. With the war over, it can't build anything in here, so there's not really a big issue for us to sort of just keep things going there. Anyway, that's system maps. We'll just go and dismiss that message. Then the hyperdrive technology has now been completed. So the Jerex hyperdrive is now the desired hyperdrive that we have for our ships. So we'll just go and dismiss that. So I'll just go and fix up my ships to actually include those, and then we'll just go through and actually rebuild everything accordingly. So that's the first tech that we've got. The next one we're going to get is planetary governance, which will then just help with the money from our colonies. We haven't really gone through how colonies work, but other than the fact that they like to have lots and lots of resources, things are looking pretty good in that regard at this point in time. Okay, so now the Dayots will ultimately come back to this system. I will need to have some sort of presence out here for when that all goes a bit crazy. One thing we can have a quick look at is, are they still at war with the others? I'm hoping that they are. Yeah, they are. So that war just continues on and on and on, and that's going to drain the Dayots like very, very well for us. You can see there that they're still losing war weariness. Our war weariness should be sort of back to pretty much zero. There's been no war progress. There won't be much. I think it's all going to come down to this refueling point. This is really what the war's about at this early stage. Once we get control of that, it's then going to give us the ability to then start to really raid deeply into their territory. So anyway, with the fleets coming back, we've still got the second invasion fleet is not set to auto. I don't want them going and picking up troops at this stage. I just want them to essentially just repair and sort of recuperate back at home and sort of build up. Now, one thing we'll notice is once we actually get that one, I might just let it run forward a couple of days, because we're sort of off doing different things now away from the Roskari system. Like this one here, for example, is going in to attack that particular Gravel-X. So they'll sort of now come in and attack. And again, with this particular fleet, this is of the first. So I'll just go and select that one. Actually, what are these other ones? Oh, these are ghost ships. This is actually, we never went through really what the Wekkarus do, like, what they have. They're sort of like a Cthulhu type faction to a large degree. And one of the benefits they have is that when they go into combat, they can spawn these special ghost ships, which are not, like, they just do their own thing. And so this is a pulse frigate. It's essentially, it's just another frigate that we don't control. And so this is another ghost ship here where it's a heavy escort, I think. No, this is another frigate as well, another pulse frigate. And so they're just coming in to help the attack. And so they're not part of... Our first fleet is here, along with two of these sort of Cthulhu ghost ships, which makes this faction really, really interesting. The ships themselves, actually, maybe we'll... I don't have to worry too much about this. I'll just let it go a little bit. Actually, no, I'll do the ships now, because I just want to have everything ready for this. So if I go back to my ship designs, which come in the construction area, so if I go into this side in through here, I'll just go back to construction yards as the default look there. In fact, that one probably is, the build order is probably the most useful of the panels here. But I need to get my ship designs now to use this new technology. Now, one thing we'll see is the year is 2768, 0706. And we can see that at this stage that a lot of, if I go into the active buildable designs, but for, say, state ships. So these are the various ships that we have control over. And so the date that things are being designed for them will kick in depending on when we designed them. And so in 2768, we'll see there that the small fuel tanker has now got a new design, because the hull is set to automatic in through here. And so that's actually set to automatic. We've got an escort, the Teuton 2 escort, which is set to manual. I didn't ever bother doing that one. We've got none of them in the actual existence. And so this is set to manual just so that they wouldn't build anything with that one. And similarly with the patrol escort, this is the Munich 2, again from 2754 at the start of the game. So it's just set to manual as well. Now we're still using an old design of the heavy escorts. We saw that with the invasion fleet. They hadn't upgraded their ships. They hadn't retrofitted them, because I'd sort of put them into manual control. And so I didn't give them a chance to retrofit to the ones that I had designed. So we've actually got we've got 14 heavy escorts of the Pulse escort design, and we have of the Pulse frigates, which are all of our frigates. We have 17 of those in our fleets as well, and so these are all set to manual, which means that they won't upgrade to the new look until they're ready. If I go to the troop transports, I'll see that the Linz 3 troop transport, there's none of those that exist, even though we know that we've got 5 troop transports. We've got Linz 2 troop. Actually, maybe I'll show you this just in a bit of detail. So if I go back to my second fleet, which is coming here, so second invasion fleet, these here are Linz 2 designs. And so the Linz 2 design is using the warp bubble generator, and it's just got a buckler repeating blaster. So I'm not controlling the design of this. If I go back to the and you don't have to. I just like doing it. So you can just let the ships be designed themselves. But in this case, the Linz is now a Linz 3, and this only just happened 6 days prior to now. So when we got that technology, they automatically it's gone and done a hull upgrade. And if we go and have a look at the Linz 3 and go into edit, we can then sort of see that it's now come through. And again, I wish the default for this was latest per category and family, and then bay type category, family and size. I'll just put that one there just so it's there for the future. But they will have now changed the Jerex hyperdrive. And so they may have tweaked a few other little things as well, just if there was anything. They're right on the limits for their size. And so they may have changed some other things to make that one work. But the Jerex is now the hyperdrive, which means it can jump twice as fast as what it could before in this instance. That's a big upgrade. So I'm not going to save and exit. I'm just going to leave that one where that is, because this is automatically just going. I don't control this design because I'm not looking after it. The only two I'm really looking after are the pulse frigates and the pulse escorts. So let's go and start with our pulse frigate. Just going to go and grab it. So I'm just going to go into upgrade. And what upgrade will do is we'll automatically look through all of the componentry and think, I should actually change this one and make it work. I can go to copy as new and do something different there, but if I click on upgrade, now we've still got a bit of space in here, like 412. Actually, before I do that one, I'll just cancel that. If I go back to my existing pulse frigate and go to edit, I can't save this, but I can see what's actually in here. And again, I've got 414 size out of 420. We're using thrust vectors, proton engines. We've got different sorts of two generators and armor. This is sort of what we end up having. The actual existing warp bubble generator is size 15. So really, we should be able to sort of squeeze in the new design. If we have a look at the Jerex hyperdrive, it's size 18. So it's 3 more, which means that what we should be looking at through here is, if it doesn't change anything else, this should end up being three more than that, so 417. So it's obviously changed something else over through here. It may have changed for the engines. I've specifically designed this craft to match the speed of the escorts because I don't want it to go out in front. So it may decide that it's better to put another engine in or something, or do something different. So let's just cancel that. So what I can do is I can actually do a copy as new and then go and fix it up and then replace the existing one, or I can do upgrade and just see what it's actually done. So it's kept the engines, we've still kept the speed, so that's actually the same. It's got a play, yeah, that's actually okay with what we had through there. It's kept those there. So all it's done is put the hyperdrive there. So why is it smaller? What's happened there? And I don't know the difference. The plasma blaster that may be something that we changed. Yes, it may have put that one in. Let me cancel that and have another quick look, because I want to know what it is. Yeah, it is. We had a small pulse wave cannon. I'm going to go back and put that one in there. So so what it's done is we got the pulse wave. The plasma blaster is very, very small at size 10, and this is a Boscaran weapon. But I prefer to be using the small pulse wave cannons at size 15. So it costs 5 more size, but we have more range. So that's sort of what I wanted. So I'm just going to go and cancel it. It's done a good job of what it's doing, but it's not what I want. So I'm just going to go. I will do the upgrade, but I will go and change that plasma blaster, and I can just right click on it and then just go and change that to a small pulse wave cannon. Throw that one in, and that then takes me to the 417. That was the one change that they did differently. And so we now actually have the Jerex hyperdrive. We have everything else. This one is still traveling at 104, so about the same speed when it goes into sprint mode. It's now doubling its speed though in space. So so that's actually good. Pulse Wave Frigate version 2. Save and exit. I don't need to do anything else. So save and exit that one. And so that now is, we've got 0 of those, but they can then be retrofitted to this. And that's what we want to get them all to start to do. The Pulse Escort, I'll have a quick look and see what's in that one. That's using 2 medium pulse wave cannons, which is fine. And we are still got space there as well. So I'm thinking we're going to be okay here as well. So I'll just go back in and go cancel and just go into upgrade. And in this case, you've kept the 2 pulse wave cannons. Yep, I think we're fine. I think that's pretty much just honoured what we had. The speed is about the same, it's slightly slower, but not very much. That's actually good in my opinion. I quite like where we are. We're close to the limits, but that's fine. So we'll just go in and save and exit that one. So hi Silas, saying, is that pulse wave cannon an area weapon? No, it's not actually, but it's a very, very powerful weapon. If I go into, like I'll just go into the pulse wave frigate and just go and do an edit in here. Now that I've got nothing built, I can actually, if I make any changes here, I can then sort of save them. And so this is these are other designs that then upgrade now to this particular frigate through there. So with the weaponry, to actually compare weapons, you've got different types of things. Excuse me. This one here is an area weapon. So if I hover over this one, this is an Intimidator Surge Blast. It's a large weapon. It takes up 54 tons on any ship, which is the limits I have for my frigates is 120 in the nose, and excuse me, and 19s on either side, on either side of the ship. And the field of view is actually very important in the game, with the way it sort of they then sort of work. So in this case, excuse me, sorry about this. I've got a point defense weapon in there, and then these are just close-in weapons, but they're not area weapons. This one is a damage type is an area blast wave for the Intimidator Surge Blast. This is actually freely available to any faction, but I don't like using these because they're not really controllable all that well. So I like to be more surgical. Now I actually thought that the wave weapon that they had, the pulse wave weapon in through here. So that's the large one. We'll just go to the medium ones in through here for an example. The plasma blaster, the pulse wave cannon. These are actually these are specifically targeted. Now you can click on something and then compare it. Like if we go to a small pulse wave cannon and then have a look at the small plasma blaster, for example, we can see that they're both close-in weapons. They both use the same energy per second to actually sort of then fire. It costs more to build the plasma blaster in terms of it uses 6 Necros stone and 3 Krypton, whereas our pulse wave cannon only uses Necros stone. Then we see the differences. The plasma blaster does a lot of damage within itself, but we have 3 shots per volley at the bottom of that list there, so we can start to see exactly the differences between these. The plasma blaster can do a little bit of planetary bombardment, whereas the ones that we have, the pulse wave cannon, is more surgical. And ultimately, I like the pulse wave cannon for what we want it for, so that's why I'm not going with the plasma blaster, even though it's a lot smaller. So it's only 2/3 the size, which if we were struggling for space, I would definitely go with it. But our range is a bit less than double the range of the actual plasma blaster, which is the Boscaran weapon. And so we actually stole that with our spies. So anyway, that's also where we are. Now, Tenry is saying, does it say anywhere how long the retrofit can take and how important is the throughput of a docking bay for refits? The docking bays are now very, very important. They weren't all that important up until the most recent free update. So it's actually fairly there. Oh, there we go. 2 raiders from Castanar. Welcome, guys. Probably depends on the design difference. Well, the docking bays have got now a throughput, and I forget what the throughput is if you don't use a docking bay. So if we use a planet, it's going to take longer to actually build and sort of do the retrofits. If we use the starport, it's going to be shorter. If we go back and I'll just go and cancel that because we've got what we need. So these are now ready for retrofitting, which means that all of the auto designs will come back in and automatically do their retrofits. And so they'll come into the spaceport which is sitting back over here, and do the retrofitting at the spaceport. If you have a look at the spaceport here and have a look at the, I'll just get rid of that for now. So we've done what we needed to do. If I go into the spaceport and have a look at its design, we can see there it's got one construction yard, which essentially is also a docking bay. It's only got one docking bay there. So that's going to slow us down a little bit. The fact that we've only got the one, nothing we can really do about that though. So we've only got the one docking bay at that construction yard, but the throughput is 200 per second. So it's still pretty good. It's still pretty good what it can do, but it's certainly faster to use that one docking bay at that small starport than anything else. If we go into our technology, because we now pretty should really pick the next technology anyway. If we go into the actual different types of ships that we can get, if we go to a enhanced construction, that's going to give us the small spaceport version 3. And we can see there we've got the hangars. I'm not sure where the actual docking bays would show up in there with what it actually does have. But this one should allow us to start to be able to sort of push things through a little bit more. The hull size is 360. The previous one in through here with the current ones is 300 hull size. So there's a good chance we end up with more docking bays there. That's 4. What's that one there in hangars? 6. Yeah, it's hard to sort of tell really, because docking bays should be under the general slots in one degree, but they're also sort of half associated with hangars. Anyway, that's I don't want that just yet. I'm happy with what we've got. Maybe improved frigates might be interesting, but I'm thinking also I would like to go and get the interstellar destroyers. This is actually a big improve, and I know that the Boscarans will be trying to get their destroyers, so they'll be sort of aiming for that one. That's only 10 years away. The longer we go into the game, the more our technology should advance beyond the Boscarans, because they shouldn't be able to research as fast as we can unless they sort of end up with other areas. Let's have a look and see if there's anything else that we really want to get. Actually, one thing we probably want to get is we do actually have other bonuses. We started to steal starfighters from the Gizarians. Secure caves there. This is the engines. I wouldn't mind getting the Stellaris engines. That's only 8 and a bit years for that one. We do have a big bonus there for getting those. This is liquid energy storage. So this is the hydrocore capacitor, which is a shield enhancement. This is actually unique for us, which actually is worth getting. That's 10 years though for that one. So this is actually a small size, but actually it sort of like almost doubles what we can do with our shields. So that's actually pretty good, but we probably really want to go with, we've got the Corvidian shields in through here. This is 10 years as well. We sort of want that as well. There's a lot of stuff we want to get here. There's, we're a long way behind, we've got a lot to do to get what we need. We've also got planetary defense units if we're worried about being attacked, which I think we can, at this stage, we're not too bad with that one. Having a look back through here, we've got tractor beams, which we could use, which I don't really need to use on our ships. This one through here is going to take me 21 years, so it's too far away to get these new wave weapons. So I'm thinking we possibly just go back down to the, well, I'm not sure what we want to get, to be honest. I really want to get long-range scanners, but I'm 1 point off being able to get those with my research. Yeah, there's not really much there that we want. We're getting planetary governance now. You've almost got the target tracking system, swarm targeting from the Gizarians. So we've almost stolen that at this point in time. Maybe destroyers are where we head off to next. It's only 9 years for that one. Or the shielding, or get the better shielding. Or the high volume thrust we don't really need. We're doing pretty well with our speed. So I'm thinking that maybe the shielding. It's 10 years for that. It's really tricky. Really tricky. That's size 20. These are size 15. But they're a lot better. I'll go that way. Pay the costs. So we'll just queue them up into our research. Okay, so at this point in time, we'll just keep on going with the with what we're doing. So what we'll find is that the fleets will automatic, because we've set them to automatic, except for this one here, they will automatically do their retrofits. And I'm just going to tell this one now to go back and refuel and repair at actually, I can tell it to retrofit at Cantrella 4 spaceport. So we actually have a spaceport at Cantrella 4 as well. So I'll tell it to go off into the different locations. That's another fleet there. So Cantrella 4 is here. So we did build that's right, we did build a spaceport in the last session. It's still under construction, but it's almost finished now. So I'm just going to go and say, yep, go off, the invasion fleets, go off and do your retrofits. So they're still using the old design, the old Dressau 2, which we had sort of bypassed anyway. So they'll just go off and do that. The other ships will just automatically do what they do. So if we have a look at the first, it will start, it's going to be attacking that Gravelix. We might as well have a look and see that one. That small spaceport's just been finished. Hi Drexy, how are you going? Thank you for the subscription there. And Droog is saying, if you mean Malcolm McDowell, yes, for sure. Was that one so bad? There's a Drexy saying, I'm so bad at the mortal. The mortal ones are actually fairly hard. So Droog is saying, I've been looking forward to this and starting a new run. Dazzy, you're playing the teddy bears? No, we're not. Actually, one thing with them, one thing I've got to show you. This is, like, it's sort of funny. I don't like jokey factions, but if I go, I'll just say where we are, and I'm going to just open up. One thing I like about doing live streams is that I can actually, I don't feel as compelled to try to keep the pacing going. I can sort of go off and do weird things. Like if I go into load bases and go to the, where did we have them? This one here. The Quito administrative clan. So this is the essentially the Atuuks. Just load them in. It's sort of funny because I really didn't think I'd enjoy playing them, but if I go into their characters, this is why they're like Ewoks to a large degree. But if I go to characters, the thing I really like is, so as you go through them, that's the Emperor backing through there. There's that's an ambassador. That's an admiral backing through this other side. Check this out. This is the general. I really find that so funny. It just it tickles my fancy sort of seeing these things. It looks very, very cool, very, very sort of different. They've done a really good job of this faction, sort of putting everything together. It's very, very cool. Anyway, I thought I'd just divert off and show you that one. Let's just load it again. So Authoritica was saying that the Atuuk portraits are more amusing than I thought. It sort of works, like it's just funny. And I, as I said before, I really wasn't looking forward to playing as them, but I actually really quite enjoy them. Here we go, more Boscara cutscenes. We'll just keep on coming back in with this particular attack. So they're attacking the Gravelix. Now we should be okay because the Gravelix, there shouldn't be too much damage with what does go on through here. So the Gravelix is now going to attack us. We're attacking it as well. Oh, hang on. Aha! 6 strike force. An enemy fleet of the Boscara Ascendancy has been travelling on an attack vector towards the Cantrella 4 spaceport. So if we go and have a look at this one here, if we just go to show me, this is actually where it's coming in. We're in the Cantrella system right now. So they've actually got an invading force in here already. So if we go to the 6 strike force and go and click on this one, there's only 2 ships and they're almost out of fuel. So we've got the frigate and also a heavy frigate, which they got from the pirates. Like they've obviously captured a lot of pirate ships with what they're doing, which is sort of interesting in itself. There's a disabled pirate ship which is friendly to us over here. And so this is like a raiding force, and their idea is to try to kill off what they can. So they've got this is their frigate, and this one is using the Jerex hyperdrive already. So they've already got these on board. They've got the plasma blaster, Epsilon torpedo, and the buckler repeating one through there. They're still using deflection shield generators and standard armor. So it's sort of similar to what we have. The interesting thing about the Boscaran ships is all of their weaponry faces forward, as you can sort of see through there. So there's nothing faces the rear. And so if you end up with small craft, the small craft will end up chewing up these frigates because they can't defend against them. And so it's sort of interesting the way it sort of does work. In this case, yeah, that's the other ship that they've got. We've got actually a resort base there, which is actually targeting these guys. So we have a bit of an attack going back in. They've taken a bit of damage there. These are still very, very strong. I think what I'm going to have to do is actually leave this and go and defend. Actually, maybe we'll actually let them finish off the Gravelix first. And come to all the pulse cannons. Bang, it's gone. And so this one here took a little bit of damage on its shield, but everything else is actually okay. And so this is what was this one? This was the first. So the first is actually is coming through. We need it to go and kill off these two ships. Now it should be fine. This actual spaceport should be fine anyway. To be honest, we've got 2 interceptors and 2 bombers, and so they're going to be, and they're building passenger ships and things at this stage. But there's already small craft here that will go off and attack. But let's go now and send in the first to go and pick up the. So the first is just here. They're in the same system, and so we will go off and kill this particular fleet. Let's go and take this one out if we can. So you can see there's a weapon that's being fired from that particular ship. We'll just go and prepare an attack, and so this one here. If we have a look at this ship here, this is got lightning missiles and electromagnetic lance. This is a powerful, like an advanced ship. It's got iron sheath armor. It's got Megatron shields. So this is actually an advanced. Actually, this is a Xenox ship. So I don't know where they got. It looks like they may have actually found. I think what they've found is actually a space graveyard somewhere. If they have, we're going to need to find that, because if they're getting all these ships, it means we're going to really struggle against them. These are advanced ships. And so the Boscaras shouldn't have access to this sort of ship. Again, that's what I mean about it being beautifully unbalanced. It's just like that presents a whole other threat to us, and we haven't found where that is. If we go back into our exploration and have a look at the abandoned ships and bases, we still only know about that one base. We don't know about the others. So where are they getting them from? If we have a look at the other fleets. What I thought were pirate ships are probably Xenox ships that they've brought back. Go back to the 3rd fleet here and look at this escort. Yeah, these are Xenox ships. These are not old pirate ships. These have got the Megatron shields, the iron sheath armor. So they've actually found a graveyard, a ship graveyard somewhere. They're bringing back ships that were maybe in there. I don't know. Like that looks like, again, like an old combat area. There may be areas in through here that they've been able to get hold of. Now, if that's the case, that changes things again, like, as to what the what can go on. But I'm not seeing anything from we've actually we've explored a fair bit of this to sort of see what's going on through their empire. So they've got control of a big advantage here, which is interesting. So we're going to have to make use of our superior cash flow once the spice starts flowing back into our home systems. Let's just continue on. What's this one coming back with? Caslon. These are now moving back to transport cargo from that's going to the mining station. These are all coming in as well. This is a transport going to the outpost with supplies that it requires. It's got more supplies coming back out as well, but we'll start to see Zentavia fluid coming back in as well fairly soon. Actually, what have we got? Accept war mission, destroy. Yeah, this is what I mean. The game is getting better and better and better. It knows that this is an important area. Like, even though we just did that analysis ourselves, the game is analysed and thought that is important. This is an important location. So yes, I'll accept this war mission to destroy the refueling station. I was going to do it anyway. So bang, we pop that one in there. Kentrella Spaceport, I'll just dismiss that one. So the game surprises me, just again, at how good the AI is getting. And they improve it all the time. So it's very, very cool the way things are sort of working. Let's have a look and see at Kentrella. We actually should be coming in now to attack this Xenox ship. Here we come. Now we possibly will be travelling faster than this ship. It's actually jumping out. It's almost out of fuel, so it's going to be trying to move out to that refueling station. And so this is a raiding force. This one's still got a bit of fuel, but it is jumping away. So it's probably sort of looking at it's been damaged a little bit. There is some iron damage that happened in through here. So this ship, it must have an iron cannon or something of some sort. There's there's different. This is a small crafted bomber. Let's actually just follow one of the bombers in and see what actually happens. If I go into, if I press B, I go into like bridge mode. I think it's no, it might be Shift B. Yeah. So this is actually, I'm now looking at the actual attack of this small ship. So it's trying to get in close in behind. Now we've almost been destroyed with our basic bomber here. So we've taken a lot of damage. So it's actually firing, and we just got this. Actually, no, we've not been destroyed yet. We're moving away, but we've taken a lot of damage on the ship itself. So it's now moving away to try to go and set itself up. Here comes the ice rings, the resort base. So it's going back home to go and repair because it's taken all this damage. So anyway, that's actually now going into the dock. So you can actually look at it from the bridge. It's not great, the process. If I just go back and press T is top-down view, I can then go to B, which is sort of like your basic view, press Tab, and I can then start to sort of look at things from different angles. And if I just press Shift and then Q and E, I can then go back to sort of fix it so that it's on north. Those ships have now jumped out of the system, so they're now gone. And if we have a look at we overrode the first. So the first is now manually controlled. I'm going to put that one back to defend. So it's just going to be auto, and I am going to tell it to go and retrofit at Cantrella 4. So even though Roskiri is its own home base, it will at least retrofit it here. So they'll go off and do the retrofit, but they'll be fine in terms of their actual role as a defence fleet. Here comes the next fleet as well. So that was, I think, the 4th. They're moving to Controller 4. Again, they're just going to essentially refuel there, I think, and then they'll look to retrofit somewhere. Retrofitting will take, yeah, so here we go with the fuel range now kicking in. Here comes the other fleets coming home as well for retrofits. The first is going through its retrofit process. That's now a version 2 already. It's a version 2. It's still a version 1. Version 1. Version 2 for the escort. Version 2. Version 1. Version 1. So they will go through their retrofit process. That's now version 2. We'll see them turn red slightly when they're doing it. And so it happens pretty fast because they don't have a real lot to retrofit. There it goes. That goes now with the refueling here as well. So that one's now still a version 1. So it will then be able to bounce off and do things fairly well. God, I wish I could find that graveyard. I mean, they may have already sort of wiped it out. You can cheat to see where they are, by the way, if you're so inclined. I'm not going to do it, but you can you can turn on the. You can do a lot of different things in here, but you can go in and change. If you go to the game editor, you can actually then have to look to see what's been set up. So you can actually then, like if we wanted to find out what's in through here, I'm always tempted to show this. Let's do it in a part of the galaxy which we don't really have any real control over. Just see if we can find a whole series of those little things again. I'll do it in here somewhere. There's like that there looks like it may be something, but it's not really. There's nothing in the middle of it. Unfortunately, that there is interesting and that there is interesting, but it's too close to where we are for that to sort of make sense. The big bubbles on the map are the nebulas, and so nebula boundaries are on, and they will be coloured orange, purple, green or yellow depending on what type of nebula they are and what type of damage that they do. So they slow you down. These are like mountains in space. Essentially, you can still cross them, but they slow you right down to go and do anything there. Let's just focus on this little area here. I'll just turn on the game editor to see. I'll show you a few little things with this as well. This one does allow you to see different things. So you can see we've got debris fields back into here. We've also got there's actually humans. We're actually looking at other factions that we now get to see. We can also go in and change the colour of factions now as well. And we do that from this screen. I would suggest that you zoom right in, and then if we wanted to, and actually we do have a case in point. The Gizarians and the Dayuts are very close in colour, even though we're not seeing any Gizarians. But I can go to select an empire to edit, And the one that we actually are interested in are the Dantui Anthropod Syndicate and the Dayot Surveillance Oligarchy. Even though actually the colours don't look too bad there, do they? They may still be okay. I won't do it, but you can actually go and click on these and go and change the colour of what they actually are if you're wanting to. Just see, so that is a thing that's only just come into the game. So you do actually have that ability now. But this one also will give you like a debris field. It will then this will be like an event that's been coded in. There's another debris field back in through there. And I don't want to show too much of that. I'll just get back out of there, and then we sort of lose the control. But we now know that there's humans down this way. So you can use that just to, again, if you're interested to see what's going on. Thanks for the subscription there, Biff Gimbal. Very much appreciated. So saying hello, Daz in chat. More months, more good. Yes, no, thank you very much. So Authority saying yeah. So what are the big bubbles? So that one's there. Conjecture is then saying, can I put huge tariffs on other planets and civs? Not really, no. It is what it is. I don't think you can put tariffs on. So I was saying new subs. Yeah, that's great. Thank you again, Biff Gimbal, for that one. Just see if there's any new comments there. So hi Voxstar and Group Verkick is saying hello. How to become a successful streamer like yourself? Well, I wouldn't consider myself a successful streamer. I completely screwed my channel accidentally some years ago, and I've never recovered it. As in terms of I was getting so many more views about 4 years ago, and then I used the wrong word and I wasn't even being contentious, but I used a shadow banning word, and ever since then I have not had I don't get promoted much by YouTube anymore. So I would never ever recommend anyone do rely on YouTube or any of them, to be honest, to actually do streaming. It's there's so many hidden things that you're completely outside your control, and I only found out by I just happened to look at it and sort of see there. Oh, here we go. I'll just pause this one. Anyway, I won't bitch about it because at the time I thought, what the hell? And then once I figured out what was going on, it was just crazy. And that was, it was, it sort of was. It was a diversity thing. It was basically, it's been crazy. So, and that was really strange. Like that was it was the word theocrat. The word theocrat I had in the title of a series of videos, and I uploaded all the videos in one go, and all of them got demonetized straight away. And all I did was change the name of the word theocrat to priestess, because I was actually playing Age of Wonders, and then it was fine. And but by using the word theocrat, I then flagged my channel as being a problematic channel, I believe. I think that's what's happened, because I've never been promoted since then by YouTube. And up until that point I was. Yeah, it's just crazy. And so it didn't get me cancelled, but it got me shadow banned. And it's, for whatever reason, I must be on now a list of don't promote, which is just really strange. And you've got no way of addressing that. It's all hidden stuff. And so it's just, you just notice there's a change, got no control. It was all legit, but that's just, it is nuts, Korosami, it is nuts. And that's why I would never, ever recommend that anyone actually relies on YouTube or any of these places to make a career out of it. It's just not worth it. You've got no control, and you don't. And they didn't tell me. It was just that I just noticed that all of the videos were set to be demonetized, and it was only when I changed the name that it all came good. So Daz, another victim of the culture war. Yeah, it's just crazy. And up until then, it was great. Like, it was going so well. And I'm so glad that I didn't actually start making decisions based around how well it was going before that, because it completely tanked after that. It was really quite strange. So yeah, it's sort of funny. So yeah, I'd never ever recommend anyone to actually take on streaming as any sort of actual financial goal. Just, it's fine as a hobby. It's fine for fun. You still can make a bit of money out of it, but nothing like, it's not an easy, to make it into a career is not easy at all. Silas is saying, so Biff saying, can you apply back to YouTube for them to revisit the issue? Well, it was never flagged as an issue. They never told me it was an issue. So I've got nothing to, and they don't work that way. They're very, very, they're very secretive of their algorithms, and so you can't directly address them and say, hey, what's going on, unless you're really big, and then you sort of can. But even then, it's a problem. And so that's why so many of the actual contentious, the really contentious guys, end up having to promote their channels in other ways, which is sort of, interesting. Anyway, let's continue on. Muzzle Paint saying, excellent, another stream. I'm about to buy the DLC. Why is it more than previous ones? It's not more than previous ones. It's the other ones are on special. That's why it's there. By the way, I've got a link to Steam if you are wanting the game through Steam. In both, I think the description in Twitch, and then also a pinned link in YouTube. But there is a but. You can certainly get the DLCs through that link. That's not a problem. It's just a link to Steam. But there is, if you go to Humble Bundle, you can get the base game for $12 this month. So Humble Bundle at the moment would be the best way to get the base game. And then if you go to Steam, you've got like a week to get the DLCs on special. So is that why you changed your name? No, just I changed my name because it was hard for people to, when I started to get serious about doing it, I changed the name because the DAS 24680 was not a great name. So I thought I'd do, that's when I was sort of thinking I'll try to make a go of it, and then it happened soon after that was when the problem happened. So Authoritica is saying, wow, $12 for the base game is nice. Yes, and you get a heap of other games as well if you go to the Humble Bundle. By the way, this I did say at the start, this stream is sponsored by Slytherin, and I do appreciate that. So I do want to thank them for that. And so even though like they've given me that link at the top there just to sort of gauge the engagement from everyone, it is better for you guys to go to Humble Bundle if you want to get the base game. So just be aware of that, and that's only for April. So that's an April only special, and so that's actually something again that Slytherin has gone in and engaged with Humble Bundle. So it's still all above board. So yeah, it's pretty cool anyway for what it does actually have. So Muzzle Paint saying it's double the price of the other DLCs without discount. It should be. No, this one's 17. When I looked at the Australian dollars, it was the same for all of the others. Now I'm not sure why, but anyway, that was the Return of the Shaq-Turi is different, and the new Pirate Fat one that's going to be coming at the end of the year will also be an expensive one, I would think, because it's going to add a lot more content across the board. But the actual the DLCs to do with the factions, they all look like the same price. Let's have a look. I'll just double check. This is in Australian dollars, by the way. I'll just go and have a look at the Steam page. So there we are, 50% off at the moment. So or if you go to Humble Bundle, you can get the base game for $12. Well, it's actually $36. This is Australian dollars, which would be about what, $25, maybe $28 US, I guess, and about the same 28 euros, I would imagine, if you were sort of looking at those sorts of numbers there. Back and through here, you can see there it's $14.50 Australian for me. Which means that the new one here would be about $10 US, but it's the same here. Like these are just on special, so these ultimately would be for the Quiminos and Gizarians, which is awesome. These are great additions, by the way. Highly recommend those. So 10% off at the moment for Return of the Shaq-Turi, 30% off for Quiminos and Gizarians, and the Ikaru and Dayuts there are $14.50. Sorry, 40% off. So again, a good return on those ones through there. But if you want the base game, you don't have the base game, $12 on Humble Bundle, which I do actually have open here as well. So it's the normal retail price is 79 Australian dollars, but you do need to go into the monthly. You need to get the monthly deal here to grab it from here. Along with you get all these as well. So there's some good stuff that you end up getting with that one there. So that's I think that Slytherin have only just sort of engaged with this. But I was talking with Eric earlier today. We were recording a podcast for Explorminate, and that was And Eric actually mentioned it. Otherwise, I'd feel bad about showing that in a sponsored stream, particularly when they've given me a link to sort of to try to use. But in this case, Eric mentioned it, so I'm thinking, yep, great, it's all above board. There's no problem at all. So there you go. You can get it fairly cheap at the humble store there. So anyway, that's all there. I'm sure it doesn't work out great for Slytherin, but it works out much better for you guys. So that's the sort of the way it does work. Yeah, so there we go. So Cat's now saying faction DLCs are all $10 US base, and the DLCs are $20 base. Yeah, so that's like the Shakturi ones, I guess. So anyway, let's continue on. It's Muzzle Paint saying Pig Mac was correct. Yeah, so the Shakturi is the only expensive one. So I'm sorry, guys. I'm an old man, says Muzzle Paint. Well, I think I can certainly empathise or sympathise with you, whichever way. We're talking deals here. Yes, we are. We are talking deals. So Silas is in saying, what is the number 2 best ship? Actarians would be number 1. Yeah, Actarian I love. I've got to say I really love the what the Wekkarus bring. And maybe we'll like I've still got about half an hour, so we're going to no doubt we'll try to get. I'll just unpause. We'll just let things happen. We're going to have a look at this one here. Carried out a successful map of the Boscara. Now, does that show us anything? Again, I'm looking for what they have. This is their territory map. They've got a research facility out there, mining station out that way, but we're not seeing the this graveyard. I would love to find that graveyard if there's still ships there. It may be too far away for us to do anything about, but I'm guessing it's in around here somewhere. Okay, the Boscara security. This is a pirate faction. I'm going to decline that one. We haven't really had them affecting us in any great way. This here is the 1st Defence Force, which is now all set up and ready to go. So we can send these out to do the job. Now, these are set to look after this particular location. But let's go and clean out this this Caslon mine, because this is going to be really, really important. Now, let's have a quick look at our current fuel. Our current fuel is heaps. So we've actually got good fuel range here. It doesn't make sense. Why is it so good? It was 200. It's 500 M. So we've got 2 fuel cells. I've got a funny feeling this is like a weird bug. Because the fuel cells themselves have got a fuel capacity of 110. The Jerex hyperdrive, I notice this happens a lot with the Jerex hyperdrives. Oh, maybe it's the what it might be is the actual is the cost, the energy cost. Yeah, that it can actually go a lot further. The speed is 400. The jump range is 140 M. Yeah, the energy usage there of 61. If we go back to ship designs, I've always noticed that this actually changes once you get the hyperdrive. So it may be even better than we thought. If I'll just go back to all types, and we'll just go back to. I always like to have this one set to roll, and I'll just go to the escort, the heavy escort, the pulse escort 2. Let's just go and have a quick look at this one here. I'll just go and edit. If I go back so that we actually look at all components, I can then go down to the, we've got the warp bubble generator there, which is using, the energy usage there is 85 per second, whereas the Jerex is 61 per second. And then you look at the, yeah, so it's actually ultimately ends up more than double, because the hyperdrive speed is 200, this is 400, at an even less impactful overall with the with what it can do. So that gives that does make it dangerous. That means that the Boscara ultimately will be able to reach us. So as well, we have to be careful of that. So I'm thinking that's what we're seeing there. If we go back, for example, to the 3rd fleet, its fuel range there is quite small, but once it actually does move in, it's going to then, that will also then have a high range. The 4th is currently actually that one is, where's the fuel range there? Oh, they must have one ship that's still retrofitting. Yeah, that's still retrofitting there, back at that location. So the 1st is ready to go. This is actually First is all set up with the new pulse frigates and things. So we'll just go to the first. We'll go and do our attack damage here. This, you can see there, the drive has got like a range here. And again, I'll just do a bit more of a deep dive. The orange line is the jump range. We can get there in one jump because it's less than 140 M. So if I go and click on, or if I press the Alt key, click on the actual where the fleet is and just scroll out. See, it's 120, 140 for the Jerex hyperdrives. It then has to stop and start jumping again at that point. So that's the limit for the Jerex hyperdrive out to there. And this is inside that range, which means we can go straight there. So I'm just going to grab the fourth and tell it to go and jump to. Actually, that's now right on that location. Is that one? That was still retrofitting. So that one's still retrofitting. It's right on the jump range. If we go back to the first, this is now inside the jump range. So we're going to go here and destroy this. So we can go and prepare an attack, and so off they go. So these ships will now sort of head in there. And so I find the question before was what is the best sort of ships. These are great. They don't have a real lot of firepower in the sense that they can't really put a lot. Oh, there we go. The Dantui anthropod has taken over the forest colony of Atuuk in the Draco system, and this is part of the Daewit surveillance oligarchy. Now that there, where is that? If we sort of zoom out, we should be able to see on the map where that is. Way over here. So the Daewits have this one here, and the Gizarians must be down in here. So they've actually done some damage there. So their war continues on, which really puts the Daewits on the back foot. So we can just dismiss that. Let's keep on going. Accept war mission to defend important colonies. So we will actually do this one at Roskiri 1. So we'll accept that one. This is our home base. So we're definitely doing that anyway. The third fleet, the big one, is coming in to attack this this particular location. Now, what we're seeing here is the third fleet, an enemy fleet of the Boscara Overmind Ascendancy, has been detected travelling on an attack vector towards Plotus mining station. We should immediately send defence forces there. So the Plotus mining station Plotus will be a moon. It's this moon here. So they're coming in to attack this moon, which is what's it got, and why is it important? We've got carbonite. We've got a Wekkarus crystal with 7% colony development is good. And we have that there as well. Now, this one here, you'll see that it's actually moving out initially. If we go back and grab the third fleet, see how it's going to have to go and refuel here as well. Can we destroy this before they arrive? If they can't refuel, they will be in trouble. Well, in fact, they won't be in trouble because they've got refuelers with them. So they'll have to then rely on the refuelers to get them to the next jump. So what I'm going to do is when I get this third coming back in, which is moving to Controller 4, it's going to need to retrofit. And I'm going to need it to go off and protect this system if we don't get there beforehand. If we get there beforehand with the first and can destroy it before they get there, then we're going to be there. Does it tell us there is? I think there's a way to see when it's going to get there. Yeah, no, I'm not sort of seeing it there. I thought there was actually a thing where we could find the time that it was likely to get there. If it gets there while, I don't know if they're going to get there before us. Let's hope that we can get there before them. So we're currently in hyperspace. We're travelling at the same speed as them. They all have an admiral. Actually, before they leave, they have an admiral here, which gives them the hyperjump's accuracy goes up. Hyperjump speed is up by 8%. So they're travelling faster than us. But I think overall we may just get there ahead of them, and in which case we'll then have to move away. So this will be an interesting little battle actually to see what actually happens here. So the third fleet has now left the area, and we can no longer see it because our ambassador has lost sight of it. So the ambassador, we still have an ambassador floating around here inside the Shorat system. There he is there. So he's actually just sitting there. So he actually has abilities to actually help with colony corruption reduction, counter-espionage, and espionage as well. So we can actually ultimately, we might even use our spies to start targeting them and see if we can actually get something from them. So the third is now in space. We can't see it because we don't have long-range scanners, but I really need to get long-range scanners. So let's just quickly go back to our spies, which are, actually, where are the spies? We just go back to characters and then go to spies. So we've got counterintelligence. We have a quick look at these guys. This is piercing gaze, psyops and sabotage. No traits there. Concealment is good. So let's go and try to use this one here. Let's cancel this mission. We'll go to the Boscara Overmind Ascendancy, and we'll see if we can steal research. 63%. It's not great. Long range scanner, 63%. It's highly risky, and we may be captured. So I think I'm going to not do this one. I'll just go back and do the counterintelligence at this stage. So I'll just assign that. So it's not really worth it yet. I want to be at least 75% before I start to send them in to do those sorts of missions. Okay, so this looks like there was other questions there. No, nothing I can see there where there's any other questions for me. If there is, please just do an @DasTactic and it will then beep at me. Yes, so John is saying Slytherin has some really niche games that I enjoy. We need more publishers like them. Yes, I agree 100%. They're great, actually. They're great to deal with, and I'm not just saying that because it's a sponsored stream. We're sort of lucky in the strategy game space because there are a lot of good developers and good publishing houses as well. Certainly, when you compare it to some of the other genres, it's sort of but Slytherin is one of the best. They're great, really awesome. So we have ships still going in. I don't know what Zosma is. What's going on there? Oh, here we go. So we've got a foreign agent thwarted. So as Gzor of the Dantui anthropod managed to escape when our forces detected them trying to steal research information on hybrid plasma weapons, which is the hybrid plasma weapons is the Boscaran weapons, which we already stole at the start of the game. At that stage, I wasn't controlling what the game was targeting, and I would have had them targeting long-range scanners if that was me, just to get hold of them, because the Boscara can see us coming, and we can't see them. They've actually got long-range scanners on a lot of their things. They probably won't have them on these, but if there's a resort base or something, or a research station somewhere, these are just mining stations. They're not going to have it. Okay, so actually one of our spies has been dismissed due to incompetence. Now we did know that there was actually there was a base out here. So this is one of their research facilities. If you have a look at the research facility, it should have long-range sensor array. So it's actually got long range out that way. It'll have it at the actual starports as well. So they'll be able to see things coming from some distance away. Will we get there before the 3rd? This will be interesting. And will we be able to destroy it in time before they actually arrive? They're still going to be able to do things, and we're not going to be strong enough to hold on when we get there. So this is a very quick sort of raid to come back in. Now the 3rd is still retrofitting at Roscari 1. So you're just going through the retrofit process. The 4th is also now finished its retrofit. It's not going to be strong enough to take out and protect this zone in through here. They're offering us protection. I'm going to decline that. So so the 3rd really has to get to that position to do this. So we need to get it retrofitted and then moved across. And just looking at the timing of this one, I'm assuming this will get there at around about the same time as the other, because they left it pretty much the same time. We were slightly ahead of them with what was going on, but we need them to retrofit so we can then bounce them across into the Adigabar system to actually then at least do the big fight against the actual enemy. They've invaded and taken out. So this is actually the anthropods again against the Daots. So this is in the Draco system. Where's that one? Yeah, still back out here. So they're actually... So unfortunately, fortunately for us, the Daots are completely covered with what they're trying to then sort of get through. So they're not able to really sort of go and chop and change things too much. So it's difficult for them. Here we go. This is going to get really interesting. We don't actually have. This is our first fleet. It's really only really good enough for doing this raid. It's not good enough for fighting the actual big fleet that's going to be coming. So will we get there before them or after them? If it's after them, we have to get going. We have to bounce away straight away. New spies appeared. That's good. The characters that come are sort of random, based on your faction, based on your government type, and other things as well. There's a whole range of different things that can impact what actually does happen there. Now I'm hoping that we get a. I don't want to pay to get these extra things just yet, but we'll see what happens. And we won't know. Like, our scanners are not going to be close enough to see what's going on until we actually arrive there. So we know that this is there, but we don't know anything else. There we go. We're just passing a ship. So yeah, this is actually interesting as well. This first ship that we're seeing through this other side, the Fatal Arrow, is a pulse frigate. It does have a short-range sensor array, and so it's just going past a Boscara ship, and it's been able to identify it because it's close enough to see it. And so now we've actually got the information here where this thing is out of fuel and coming back from building something somewhere. So we don't know what it's doing. But it's actually, we're going to just scoot over the top of that. So we're now, and see how slow it's travelling because it's out of everything. Now, if we come in here, if we start to see other ships appearing around this, we're going to need to jump out. And at this stage, we're still pretty close. And what do we got? No, we are in trouble here. This is actually their first defence forces here. So we might be able to take this out. So that's ours, that's theirs. So this has got 1,000 points, and again, they've got these fast destroyers. So if we have a look at this, they've found a ship graveyard, which is this is way stronger than what we are, like way stronger. See, the actual the weaponry that it has on this ship is not fantastic. With what it does do. But the overall, these Megatron shields and things is going to make it extremely difficult to break through this particular ship. So let's just see how we go with our fleet. Unfortunately, we're going to have to go in with a big one. That's the sixth strike force, which we had troubles with before. I think we're just going to have to run here because I don't think we can take this out. So this actually now is like our first fleet is about the same strength. So maybe let's just have a bit of a look and see how things actually go. If we look at it ship by ship, we've got two different classes of ships in through here. We've got our frigates, which are coming back through, and they've got ours have got the large pulse wave cannon, and so we'll see if we can do some damage against the enemy ships. We do actually have a sentinel point defense beam and also a small pulse wave cannon there as well. So we've got the large pulse wave cannon does like 40 damage, which is not dramatically high, but it's got long range. So we'll sort of see how we go. But these are all set to sort of close the gap. At the moment, we're trying to take this mining station out. And I think I'm still going to maybe sort of allow it to try to do this. I'll just halve the time so we can sort of see the interplay of what goes on. This is their closest ship, which has been refueled. So this one came back. And so it's attacking the Implacable Conqueror, this particular escort. So this is actually one of their frigates. It's got a Epsilon torpedo, which has got a range of 1680. The plasma blaster is 760. So when we have a look at the ship, we'll see different ranges. It's been able to see the outer range of that one through there. That should be there. Just that little range there is the smallest of what they have. Let's have another quick look. Nothing else up there. Plasma blaster 760. The buckler is about 650, so that's about the same. And then the Epsilon torpedo is 1680. So if I go and just press the Alt key again and click and drag, yeah, that's 760 is that first circle, and then the 16 is going to be out here somewhere. So we're getting close to getting into the range of the torpedoes. So if we, again, I'll just have a bit of a look. So there should be a circle out this way somewhere. Here they go now. These are launching small craft. So we're not really geared for these. So these big destroyers, that's what they actually had. So if you look at the fast destroyers, they've got medium starfighter bay with 6 fighter craft on it. So that's what's now launching in through here. So they're just coming in. What I'll do is I'll just do a save here, because again, it can look pretty cool. Like I need to actually be telling my ships when to leave, but we could actually just go and do a save scum, and just follow one of these basic bombers, or they're going to have bombers, and they're going to have other ships as well. They've got their basic bomber. They've just launched their bombers at this stage. If we go and take one of these ships, one of these small craft, there's that one there. Oh, it's a basic fighter there. If I just go and do Shift B and go from the bridge, we can then just look at from the angle. So this is the station. So it's now moving past the. This is the big destroyer that was there. I don't know what this one's doing. Actually, this one is shielding is coming up on this one here. There's the other ships. I'll come back and reset this one. We've got different attacks going in from our ships. So that one's now hit that range. I'll just go to another fighter craft actually. So I'll just go and just press B and just see if I can find another craft that's a little bit advanced. So I'll just go Shift B here. I can do it from the other areas. So it's watching the actual attack going in. They're firing torpedoes. We've got the pulse wave cannons coming in. So this is a bomber that's now firing in. And so the pulse wave cannons are doing a good job here. We've actually got them all going through. These are Lance missiles that are being fired from the destroyer. I can't actually turn it around. Unfortunately, I wish that, again, you could actually do more from this particular view. But it does look pretty cool to see what goes on here. So we're now going into the fleet. This is the yellow that we're seeing is doing damage to us. So we're actually, this is the sentinel beams. So as we come past, and we're being shot by we're almost dead. We've scooped through, and we've actually just got killed there by a sentinel beam. Let's just go and click one of the other ships. We'll go into this escort. Just go Shift B there. Oh, hang on, can I do that? It should be okay. Shift B. No, just go B, and I've got that one selected there. So we're sort of seeing the different ships. This one here is now disabled, is being attacked by all the different ships. These guys are still coming forward. They're going after the target. I'm sort of actually not too unhappy with that. Let's just quickly have a bit of a look to see what we can then go and do. I'll just press Tab again, so we sort of look at it from different angles. So at this point in time, and I will probably redo this one, but we've got like a this is a frigate that's coming through. This one hasn't taken any damage at all. Small craft are all being targeted by the sentinel beams, and so these bombers are sort of being pulled apart. The big destroyer has just gone over the top, but we're targeting. It looks like we're still focused. This is actually the implacable conqueror is actually now trying to jump away because it's now taken too much damage. So it's been hit pretty hard by all sorts of different weaponry, and so that's actually a heavy escort. So that's going to take a bit of a beating here. These guys, other ships are actually all okay. If we go back to the first, we can see that that's the one ship that's really taken damage. So it's trying to get away. We'll just watch what actually happens here. It's trying to jump, and it didn't make it. It got absolutely destroyed. So that's the first death. We've sort of now made it through their cordon, whatever it is. Whatever it is. This ship is still disabled, but is still trying to attack. The other ships are still making their way through, so they're trying to get to the mining station. Let's just see what actually happens here with the actual ships. I haven't told them to do anything just yet. We're now hitting the mining station, and this is good. We're getting through it quickly. And if we then take it, they're now hitting other ships as we go past. So we have different damage. So we're smashing the mining station. Other ships are now moving off, but we do have enough in here. It should be enough to sort of finish it off. The first is still attacking the mining station, but it's now finding other targets initially just to get rid of the threats. So even though we've got this as our actual target, we're still actually hitting it, but we're not doing a hell of a lot of damage. We're trying to do damage to some of these ships now. Just go back to the first. All of our ships have taken damage. I will actually just tell it to attack that station again, just to finish it off. And see that we're taking damage everywhere. And so this is not a good attack for us. That ship there is almost dead. It's just blown up. This one is almost dead as well. We're very close to killing this thing off. Excuse me. And so this is like, it was too much for us, this particular attack. We probably will get it killed. There we go. Now that there, and I'm not going to accept this one. I'll just return to the game. Cordon, there it is, a cordon around it. Not a cauldron, whatever I called it. War mission accomplished. That gives us a war score, so we end up with a bit of a war score through here. So it's not worth it, though, to lose the ships. So for me, it's not worth it. I'll just go show me there. That's okay. You should dismiss. I can't do that one just yet. So what's actually happened through here? Accept treaty. So they're offering to end our war, which is actually not a bad thing for me. And unfortunately, the Boscara are going to keep on bouncing in and out of wars. And so this is not what I want to have happen, even though we got the war score. So so that's not what I'm going to go with. Send the 4th defence to attack a Gravelex again. I'll just reload the actual game itself, but it's quite fascinating to see the interplay of the different ships and what they end up getting up to. So we want to get out of here before we start to take that sort of damage. It's just not going to work. So your Cordon is right, says Paul Franz. Yes. So it's funny how your mind goes blank when you're trying to sort of talk things through. Okay, we'll just play this. We'll play this attack out. We won't be able to finish this off. Oh God, I'd like to. But yeah, the Boscar are about the same strength as us, I think, overall. So I think ultimately, if they offer us the treaty again, I'm going to accept it, no matter what. And even though it leaves them in control here, it's sort of we end up without really losing anything. So, but then we can at least prepare for it better next time. So let's just go in and we'll just go and load in the game. So just press escape, load, and grab this one. So I just wanted to show you from. It's quite interesting, I find, to sort of look at it from the perspective of the fleets. Now we're going in at half speed again. Let's just go and press fleet number 1. Now the ships have been designed to, as soon as they take 20% of damage to their hulls, or their I think it's hulls, or 50% to shielding, 20% to armor, they're going to jump away. So that's what they were trying to do. Now this first ship, see how we're still targeting the mining station. I'm going to now switch it to this one here. So let's go and attack the Courageous Hammer. So, and if I click on just attack, it means that they're just going to do what they're doing. Now, if I also set the tactics to be tight, they're going to close in. There's no area of effect weapons we have to really worry about. But we have to, these big destroyers that they've got, I think they must have already taken all of the ships from that graveyard, because we actually let the game run for like more than 10 years at the start, just automatically. So I'm thinking they must have found that very, very early. So here comes all the small craft. We're not geared to deal with all the small craft. So we're firing at it quickly through this other side. It's now starting to lose its armor. It's firing torpedoes at us. It's firing it at a escort, and we've designed our escorts with pulse cannons, medium pulse cannons. We didn't put point defense on these cannons, which means that these are sort of not able to protect themselves against torpedoes or really against the small craft that are coming in as well. So we were looking at one of these small craft that was hovering back in here somewhere as they were coming past this particular ship. So what we'll do is we'll watch and see what happens to this ship. So both torpedoes hit it, but they only hit the shielding, and so the shielding is still actually okay. The pulse cannon is smashing into this one, which is good. This here is a Lance missile that's been fired from the these big guys here. So we've got the So in this case, we've actually got the fast destroyers. If we have a look, we can just hover over this one. You can see their lance missiles, one large lance missile, and then railguns, and they all do different damage. Like if you go and click on this, you can sort of see these ones here have got a range of 3,500, extremely long range. They've got a shield bypass of plus 40, but then the armor bypass is weaker, but they're still very, very strong. They do 38 damage for everyone they hit. There's 2 shots per volley. So for every volley that's fired, there'll be 2 of these torpedoes coming through. 1, 2, there they are there. And so they're also targeting that particular ship. And that one hit. It went through the shielding, like 40% went through the shielding and did a lot of damage to the armor that was underneath there. Second one hit as well, and again, same deal. Did damage to the armor. We're still actually okay. So one defense is actually a bit of a problem. But overall, this ship is now, in my opinion, is now too difficult. Like it's now in too much of a precarious position. So I'm just going I can now micromanage this and tell it to jump out of there. So I'm just going to say go out to here. So just move to that location, and that will then, as long as I don't tell the fleet to do anything, that should then start to leave the fight. See if we can save it. It's taking a lot of damage here. It's trying to jump. It may not be fast enough. This ship is now going to start to take the brunt of everything that's going on. If I grab the whole fleet and give it an order, this ship will then stay in the fight. And I don't want it to. I want it to get away from here. But it's being targeted by these torpedoes. This is that problem. Another torpedo coming. It's actually, that was interesting. It used its actual pulse weaponry as a point defense cannon that can do it. If it gets a hit, it's going to wipe out the torpedo, which is what actually happened there. But really, it's very, very lucky for that to happen. So it's not really something you can rely on. This one is also now getting a bit too close to the other ships. We've done some damage, but it's now trying to use. Now again, if we have a look at this the frigate's the only one that can really deal with the small ships that are there. So if we have a look at this one here, we've got a small pulse wave cannon on the starboard side, so on this side of the ship over through here, and on the port side we actually have a Sentinel multi-beam defense, and so it can only fire through that 180 degrees. This is actually one of the things I find really fascinating about the game, is that we only have a broadside essentially with the point defense. So we have to, when we see the small craft, we can only fire at it from the port side of the ship. We can't fire it from the starboard side. The cannon in front is also only got 180 degrees, so we're limited of what actually happens. If we go and press escape, here it is there. That's our point defense cannon firing at the small ships, the basic bombers. This one's almost been killed. That one's still going. It's taken a bit of damage to its shielding. And so these have all taken a bit of damage from point defense coming from this big ship. And so the frigate, but it's not going to be able to survive for long against all these other ships coming at it. So really now is the time for us to bounce out of the fight. I'll wait for this one to get out of here, and then we'll get it away. See how these now turn around, because they can now try to follow this one. This one is still sort of making its way through. It's taken a fair bit of damage. It may not make it. Let's just see if this one gets away. There we go. We've destroyed one of their ships. That's now given us we've got one. They've destroyed one of our freighters, and we've destroyed one of their military ships. That's just actually sort of kicked in, but they're going to get this guy as well. It's already too late for that one. Will this one get away? I don't know. Yeah, that one got away. So that we've got the ship. There should be a ship in space there somewhere. If I just go back to the first fleet, still got that one there. It's actually now moving out. So it's actually it's been able to get out with its hyperdrive. We've got to be careful because, if anything, the crew systems was destroyed, which means we have very limited crew. Crew capacity is 79 out of 20. But if the reactors had have gone down or the hyperdrive had gone out, we wouldn't have been able to escape with the ship. But we've been able to bring this one out of the fight. The others now need to get out of here as well, and this one is now in trouble. So we're sort of now in a bit of a problem with this one. It's sort of in the middle of everything. We are firing sort of now randomly on all sorts of different ships. We're not going to be able to take this old Xenos ship down. They've still got other frigates coming through. If it was just Boscara ships, would be okay, but not against these other ships. So let's just grab the first fleet and see if we can now escape with this one as well. So I'm just going to tell it to go back and refuel and repair at Cantrella 4. So I'll just tell it that that's its order now to escape. So yeah, so if I just go and do that one, that's now going to try to move away. It won't stay in the fight anymore. They will turn around. Will this one get away? It's jumping. That one there is going to possibly take damage as well. Yeah, this is going to get really tight because it's being targeted really heavily. Hyperdrive just went offline. So in this case, you can have a look and see what actually happened there. One of its reactors is still working, the other one is damaged, but the hyperdrive just got damaged as well. So this ship is not going to make it now. The other ships should hopefully be able to make it away from there. Yeah, so these other big Boscara ships are now sort of firing with their torpedoes. So that's sort of, this is again where the game is, everything is simulated. It's very, very cool. Like every bullet is simulated essentially in space. So there's nothing abstracted, and you've got full control over what does go on. Unlike, you know, a lot of other Space 4Xs, this one you can either just let it do its thing, or you can come in and so this is also not acceptable for me. I really, like, as soon as I saw what we're up against, it's not really worth going in and doing this. So I'll just play it out so you can sort of see what happens through here. This one's not going to make it, and it's being targeted again by all the small craft, like all of these small guys. This is like a basic bomber. If I just go Shift B, I can then just sort of follow and it will then line us up. Sort of get around and it should blow us up. There it is down there. Unfortunately, I wish I could, yeah, it just blew up there. So that's actually where we are. I'll just go back and press B. But that's, again, it's really cool the way it does work. And so we've got no other ships in that area. I think they're all now left. We go back to the first. We did lose one of our frigates there, so that's not acceptable. Like at this point in time in the game, I don't want that to happen. So we did end up only getting rid of one of their ships. We're still ahead because I think the ship that we got there was worth more, but it's still like I'm just going to save scum that. Actually, I've gone out of time. So what I think I'll do is I'll start off tomorrow. When I'm streaming on, actually, I don't know if I'll stream this beforehand. I may even stream before playing the Slytherin channel. I'm not exactly sure like the timing, so I'll have to figure out what to do. Yeah, I'll see how I go. This is, but this is actually this is a good example, I think, of combat. So I might actually save this one and do the stream with this one on Slytherin. I think I'll see how I go. Anyway, that should be what I'm doing tomorrow. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. So thanks for watching. So Bashy's saying, I'm a fan of the Wekkarus and their pulse wave cannons since Distant Worlds universe. Yeah, love to see them finally. Yeah, it is cool. I love them as well. Yeah, very, very cool. So Bashy's saying, crew now settling in the reactor rooms. Yes. So it's sort of one of these funny things where, you know, certain things will happen with the game. It's really, really deep. It's really, really cool. So, sorry, Boyd of Zinj. So, yikes, I just got here. No, sorry about that. It's been streaming for 4 hours now, so that's about my limits. So, thank you, Daz. Great stream, says Korosami. I just love this game. Like, it's sort of, and I know that I'm a fanboy, like, with it. I've always really, really liked it. Just make sure we don't have any, we've got an auto save there. Yeah, no, that's okay. I'll just, I'll load that one in tomorrow and we'll just keep them going from there, but that's all right. Just cancel that. But no, it's a great game. It's one of these games that once you start to play it, there's so many different things that can happen with it, and every little it is a space opera. Things you can end up just literally following a single fleet or even a single ship to sort of see how things sort of do work with the game. It's very, very cool. So Casno saying, I love the new search feature. Yeah, it's really, really quite cool. Anyway. Yeah, good games deserve their fan base. Yeah, and for me, this is something very, very special, this game. So anyway, guys, I better leave it there. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you tomorrow if you're around. I'll probably end up streaming at my normal time. I'm not sure, though, what I'll be streaming yet. So I like the tension of where this game actually is. This is a very, very cool game. So maybe I'll continue on with this tomorrow and then continue on again at Slytherin afterwards. So I've got a scheduled stream there. Anyway, I'll catch you guys tomorrow if you're